so excited. Mom and daughter, I am too excited.
I am too. Hold on, let me see if I can turn you up a little bit. There we go, because I can't hear.
Okay, so let's get started. You guys introduce yourselves and tell us what genre you write in and anything you want us to know before we get started.
You go first.
Okay. Hi, I'm Gabrielle Clarke. I write, and well, currently I only have one book, and it's a young adult thriller. Vanessa is Not a Victim, which is my debut novel. And yes, that's my mom.
Hey, I'm Terreece Clarke. I'm a journalist and author, and I write romance and romantic suspense and rom coms. So, and I've got about 6 books out now.
Both are good authors, y'all. Go get their books.
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay, so let's get started. And I'm going to start with you, Gabrielle. Um, you wrote a young adult thriller. What was the inspiration behind that, and who helped you become the writer that you are today?
Yeah. So I've been writing like short stories and stuff like that since I was little. It's always been one of my really big passions and hobbies and stuff. And another thing I've always really loved is horror media, horror movies, and anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my junior year, I decided to participate in NaNoWriMo.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's how I started writing my first book, and I ended up finishing it about a year after I started.
Oh wow. Okay. So now my questions can are going to come off very detailed, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So I want to ask you, as a young black author, the young adult genre has traditionally always been dominated by white authors. And oftentimes black youth are erased or misrepresented or relegated to trauma centered narratives. How do you change that narrative as a young black author?
Yeah, of course. So one thing that's really prominent in all of my writing, whether it's my short stories or my book, is that it's important to me to have a black woman at the center.
Mm.
So the main character of my book, she's a black girl, and I also always make sure that my black characters represent the diversity of our community.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not all the stereotypes that you find that a lot of non-black writers write black women to be. So she's kind of nerdy and a little off-putting.
Yeah.
So that I think that's the biggest thing
Yeah.
to reintroduce positive representation of black women into horror media and stuff like that is just to make sure that we're represented as we are, as the diverse community that we are, and just putting us at the forefront of those stories. So that's what I like to do.
Do you think that the current publishing industry definition of YA or YA horror or YA thrillers actually are the realities of the black youth and actually align with what you're trying to do, or do you think it should evolve more?
I definitely think it should evolve more. We are starting to see more and more great black representation in horror media in YA, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely still lacking, and that's something that I've gotten from a lot of my readers,
Mm-hmm.
is that they're seeing my character Vanessa, she's the main character,
Mm-hmm.
in a light that they don't see black women in as often.
Yeah.
So I do think that the industry could use a little bit more of that, more evolving process.
So what does it mean for you to create a space for black characters in YA who exist beyond just their struggles, but in their joy and everyday complexities?
Yeah. So I think that it's difficult to remove their struggles as a character.
Mm-hmm.
So it's finding a balance between these are their struggles as a character, these are their struggles as a black character,
Mm-hmm.
and then this is the rest of them. So not making that their entire arc, their entire personality being they're black,
Yeah.
they struggle, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just grounding them.
Yeah.
That's the best way to make them even more human as a character. So
So, how important is it for the youth to black readers to see themselves reflected in literature? Do you write with a specific audience in mind, or do you let the story lead you?
yeah, it's super important, I'd say. I mean, for me, growing up, I didn't read a lot of books, a
Mhm.
lot of YA books that had black women at the center, and if they were, it was a kind of flat representation.
Mhm.
So I do have an audience similar to me and my age group,
Mhm.
um, as well as a lot of like the nerdy black girls in the world and black boys as well as also who don't see themselves represented like that often.
Yeah.
So while I do, most of her character is built up by the story. I do make sure that I want to have what relates to the girls like me and the little kids like me, so that they
Yeah.
can see themselves like that.
Have you faced a moment where you question whether your stories will be embraced by readers? If so, how do you push through that doubt?
Definitely. I went through a really long time directly after it was published of thinking nobody's gonna like this. Like nobody's gonna read this, no one's gonna buy this, and I look goofy. Um, but honestly, just by that point it had already been published, so there was like nothing I could do. But
Mm.
for me, seeing people come back and say, "Hey, I loved your character," or "Hey, I didn't like your character at the beginning, but then she got cool at the end, and I love the story," and stuff like that, and even seeing the criticism, like the fact that people would read my work and it means something to them, that they could pull anything out of it, really like kind of started to heal that. So I felt so much more confident in actually having it out there and stuff like that. So
Wow. Do you ever feel a responsibility to include certain themes or discussions in your work because of the lack of diverse storytelling in YA?
I do feel a sort of responsibility, more specifically to represent accurately.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to have a diverse cast and stuff like that, but I don't want it to just be like, oh, I'm hitting a mark, like, oh, I've got a black character and I've got an Asian character, and then that's all I need to do. But
Yeah.
more specifically, weaving their stories and their identities into their character to
Mm.
make it comprehensive and accurate and as unharmful as possible.
Okay.
So
So, Vanessa is not a victim is a very powerful title. So, without spoilers, can you talk about what the story means in the landscape of YA fiction?
yeah, um, that's a big question. Um, I'd say the title is kind of has a double meaning. It has a specific meaning within the narrative, within the story. Again, I won't spoil anything, but it's also a story about a girl simply taking power in a sort of less than powerful situation.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for a lot of people to see, not even just black women, but girls in general, like
Mhm.
that, taking power in a situation and turning it into something that makes them a sort of hero or anything like that. So I think, yeah, that's a really big question. I don't know if that answers it.
That's okay. Okay, so in a genre with where black girls are often portrayed as either struggle victims or hyper independent, how does Vanessa's story push back against those narratives?
Yeah. So specifically with the struggle character,
Mhm.
Vanessa, she does come from a low income household. She lives with her elderly aunt, and she does act really. She tries to act really independent throughout the
Mhm.
majority. But as the story progresses, we see her kind of starting to embrace asking for help and
Mhm.
the other characters being useful to her in the situation and her being able to lean on them sometimes.
Mhm.
So I think showing that Black women can be vulnerable in that sense and can still be strong, can still be as powerful as they need to, and still have people on their side to lean on, I think that's really important.
I love that. I love that. So, what message do you hope readers, especially Black girls, take away from Vanessa's journey?
I hope more than anything that they'll come out of it with like hope and knowing that they're not by themselves. And that's something that Vanessa goes through a lot. She kind of thinks she's on her own or thinks the world is just boring and like she can't really do anything about it.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think a lot of girls who are like her, who are kind of shy and like off to the side and don't have a lot of friends and stuff.
Sorry.
Can come out of it knowing that they can find their purpose, can find their people who will support them, and can be a hero.
Yeah. So for every story has a starting point. What was the spark that led to Vanessa is not a victim?
Spark that led. I think before anything, I came up with the title, which is not orthodox. Like with all the rest of my stories, the title came way after. And I had this like image in my mind of a character in a horror movie, just like punching the crap out of the villain, and I thought that was so fun. And so that was probably the spark. I was like listening to music and I could like see it in my head and I was like, yup. So that's where it started.
Did the story evolve as you wrote it, or did you always know the exact direction you was going in?
It definitely evolved a lot, like even up to like the very end of my first draft, the last time I was writing my first draft, the whole ending changed. So what I had to do was I had to start by writing a short story first, and then an outline of everything that would happen. And then I would write it and then rewrite it and rewrite it. So it definitely evolved a lot. I think it would have been a completely different story if I had stopped at a certain point. But I think it's for the best that I didn't.
Were there parts in the story that what happened? Yeah. I don't know what happened. You didn't get reported, did you? I think they're gonna come back. I don't know what happened. Just a moment. Oh, okay. How was you guys enjoying the interview? Hey, Lala. Hello?
Okay, we're back. I don't know what happened. My bad. Sorry.
What was the question? Oh, were there any parts of the story that were emotionally difficult for you to write?
Emotionally difficult?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There were a couple pieces. So my main character is Vanessa, but the book is dual POV. The second POV is a boy named Kian. And Kian and Vanessa's relationship is really complicated in the sense that she's never had a friend before and he's really eager to be like her best friend ever. So there were a couple moments within the story where I wrote kind of her trying not to be vulnerable around him, and him kind of really wanting to be someone she can lean on and stuff like that. That were like, I was like, especially because there were some points where she just simply would not, and it was like, that's so sad. Like, just be friends and be happy, even though I'm writing this. Like, just be happy, please. So, stuff like that.
So let me ask you. I'm gonna give you one last question before I go to your mom. If you could see Vanessa is not a victim adapted into another medium like TV, film, etc. What would that look like, and who would be your dream cast?
Ooh, that's hard. I'm a film major, so like film is like my big thing. So if I could see it as a film, that would be fantastic. Um, and I think it would be really interesting because the way that the book is written, like it's written where she like breaks the fourth wall sometimes and stuff like that. So I think that would be really cool. I don't know about dream casts. Some people have like done casts for like what they would cast it as. And I think that would be pretty cool. I don't know. I think for Vanessa, like maybe China Anne McClain or something like that. I love China.
Good casting. Good casting.
I don't know. That would be something I would have to think about, but
Okay.
yeah.
Think about it and come back to me and tell me what you think.
Okay.
Just slide in my DM. Tell me your answer.
Okay.
I have mine, but I want to see what you're gonna say first.
I want to hear what you have.
I said I think I know I don't even know if this child acts, but there is a girl, I can't remember her name. She played on Terreece, you might know who this is. She played in a show with Flex.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember her name.
Oh, Kyla Pratt. My husband said it. Kyla Pratt.
Yes.
Her daughter, I know she doesn't act, but her daughter, I think is a great Vanessa.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, it was a great show, and she's a great actress. She was like in like everything in the 90s.
Yeah, because her daughter looks just like her. So when I say she would if Kyla was still that age, she would perfectly fit in. But her daughter looks so much like her. She's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, I think she would be amazing.
Get out. Yeah, I remember she had a baby. God, I guess she would be old enough to do something.
Girl, she my age. I couldn't believe it. Like, dang, I'm old.
Like, you still a kid.
But I thank you so much. I enjoyed your book. I thoroughly enjoyed your book. And your first book was amazing. And I want to see more. I want to see more. I want to see more from you. You have such a bright future, and I love seeing the youth actually take part in literature because we need it. We need it. Mommy and Daddy did a good job.
We just get out of her way. For real.
So if y'all tell these people about your book and tell them where they can find your book and tell them any social media handles. So before you say that, mind you, she is a youth. Yeah, keep it together. Keep it together. Keep it together.
So my book is Vanessa's Not a Victim. It's a YA thriller. It's about a girl, Vanessa, who lives in a very small town that she's very, very bored of. So when a serial killer starts raining terror in her town, her first instinct is to become a victim. Fortunately, but unfortunately, the killer wants nothing to do with her. So she decides she's going to start saving victims instead, because if she can't die, nobody can.
That was a great way of saying it.
My TikTok is Gabby Can't Talk, She's Writing, no spaces, no caps, which is also my Instagram. And I won't give my private Instagram or my other Instagram, so we'll just link there. Yes.
Buy her book. She's getting ready to go to college.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you can get my book on Amazon, Vanessa's Not a Victim. It's also on my website. What is my website? GabrielleSClarke.com.
That's right. Go support her, you guys. Okay, Gabby. Now it's time to talk to your mom.
Look at the little butterfly. There's a butterfly on there.
Cute.
Here's your breakfast.
I'm gonna go eat my meal.
Hey, y'all.
Hey. That was great. I love that. That made my day. That literally made my day. Okay. We haven't talked in a minute.
I know, at least not in public.
Yeah. So, what's going on? What's happening? And I want to show. Wait, where that? You see that right up there?
Oh, there she
All
is.
your books right there.
Oh, you need room for some more.
I do. I do. I keep telling y'all. My husband hate to see y'all coming. He hate to see your author coming.
He's a sweetie too.
So, contemporary romance, rom-com, interracial romance, you just pack a punch. So, I just want to say, you have been like a real big influence in me in this podcast.
Stop.
You have. You're the way you are a Black woman in journalism, and you take charge and own who you are means so much to me. Even though I don't have the degree, just seeing Black women navigate that media field or just navigate themselves and own that shit really, really, really means a lot to me.
Oh,
so I appreciate you.
Well, you're doing a great job, and I'm telling you I messaged you about that one specific interview that I was like, listen, you did better than me, and it would have been an international incident. Oh, you a fool. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and cut this off. So,
you girl, I feel like I got one more in me. You
got more than you think. And you never know what you can tackle until you're confronted with it. And it's always interesting because you're never, when those kind of interviews come up, it's usually from folks who you didn't think would be so combative. You know what I mean? Like the ones that you prepare for, that you're like, oh, this is a tough interview, so you have everything, and that seems to go pretty smooth. Yeah. But the ones that feel like, hey, we're just, I mean, it's not like you're setting out to do hit pieces on people, so it's talking about books and literature, so the expectation of things going left, sideways, and upside down is not there, but you handled it with grace and professionalism
and a lot of alcohol.
You looked good doing it, so
a lot of alcohol, man.
Girl, whatever gets through.
So let's talk about contemporary romance. Contemporary romance has long been a genre dominated by white voices, and when Black love is portrayed, it is often under urban fiction or a niche genre of categories rather than being seen as universal. So how do you combat that stereotype, that narrative that is trying to push out Black writers in that space? When I wrote Heartbeat, I didn't spend a lot of time. Well, first of all, there was going to be a one and done. I just wanted to kind of get the voices out, see what I can do, and then, put a little feather in my cap that I didn't call it a day. So I didn't really worry about folks' perception of where it should be and what it should be categorized. I just had this story I wanted to get out. But whether I recognize it or not, a lot of my work, whether from journalism to, my digital marketing to all of that, is always about highlighting voices that are not often heard or perspectives that are different from what the stereotype is. So that without actively doing it, I did it with that book. And it wasn't until I started getting feedback that I was like, okay, y'all tripping. Some folks really need to kind of expand, not even their circle if they don't, want to do that, but just expand what they imbibe. Like, I was told Maya was, there was no way anybody could be that accomplished, and nobody could be, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I'm like, she's kind of modeled on like several people I know. So she speaks multiple languages. She's got Mensa level. She's a member of Mensa, so she's got genius level IQ. She's an architect. Like, I know these people. So, I'm sorry, you're not privileged to know. And these are regular folks, like, grew up from all backgrounds and walks of life. So, and they're Black women. They're accomplished like this. So that kind of, when I decided that I was going to keep writing these books, I was like, okay, just like with my journalism, I have a responsibility to, one, tell the truth, and two, kind of, I don't have an agenda, but I have a perspective, one that I don't necessarily get to. With journalism, it's just the facts, right? And so people can't argue with, they can. They try to argue with the facts, but the facts are the facts. Stats are stats. What have when it comes to fiction, it's my perspective. It's the lived experiences of myself and the people, that I've met, or even, sometimes it comes up from like articles and profiles that I see of other folks, and I'm like, oh man, that'll make a great story. So my thing is always now, like, purposefully and not just happenstance, to center Black women and the truth of Black women, and then to show us as we fully are. You know what I mean? So that, because my audience is Black women first.
Yeah.
I write the stories that I wanted to read that I wasn't necessarily seeing enough of. With romance readers, we read a lot. You know what I'm saying? We sucking down 50, 60, 100 books, a year. And so while these books are definitely out there and so much more now, and it's awesome, when I was coming up, reading how I read, and as much as I read, you weren't getting that from the library, and we didn't have Amazon and ebooks and all of that.
Hell no, we didn't. We had Borders.
Right. That was my store. I loved Borders.
I wish it was actually a good store, but
yeah, it was great. That's what I kicked off my freelance journalism career in Borders. So reading a book on how to freelance write, or Idiot's Guide to Freelance Writing, that was what it was. And I couldn't even afford to buy the book, so I had to sit there in Borders and read it and take notes.
Yeah. I was doing the same thing.
Yes. So, but yeah, I focus on these women that I know, or these women that I want to see, or these women that I've, come across, whether even some that I've interviewed as part of other articles. I'm like, man, what would that kind of story look like? And what if I put them in these different situations? And I love taking Black women where we don't see them often, but we're everywhere. And bringing them into careers that you don't see too often, or situations that you don't see too often. And then giving them this like extraordinary love story that, you want to kick your feet, you might want to
definitely with Heartbeat. Definitely with Heartbeat.
You want to kick your feet, you might want to bring out a toy.
That's Chaser. That's Chaser right there. The toy.
You want to throw the book a couple of times, like
Love You More.
Yeah, Love Never. Yeah,
Love Never. That
Love You More is a good title.
You really had me in my feelings. To this day, y'all don't understand. When I first read the story, I was literally upset. I was upset. I was so upset.
She didn't want the book. So when we were on Boozy Book Tour in Chicago, and she was buying them all up, and I'm like, she's like, but I don't want Love Never, because I can't read that one again. I slid it in anyway. I was like, no. Because she left her husband. I was like, cool. Go ahead and take this one. That one's on me. Because I'm a sick individual. I'm going to be honest. Like, people were like, it had me so upset. It was beautiful, but I was crying, or I was crying in this part of some other book. And I'm always like back and forth, right? Like, I don't want your feelings hurt, like just in general as a human. But that's what I wrote for it to happen. So the fact that it's happening is like, yes. But I feel bad that you feel bad, but I really don't. So I never know.
Man, when I said
There's like some sick little pleasure there a little bit.
I felt bad. Like, how did you do this to me? Type thing. Like, this was my relationship. Like, how did you do this to me?
But you know what? I mean, you're not alone. So if you're laughing, I was laughing. If you were crying, I was crying. If you're confused, I was confused. So I'm like living it with you. I feel like it, and maybe that's a bit of the like writer's fraud thing that a lot of us struggle with. It's like I see it in my head as a movie. Mm-hmm. And so really I feel like all I'm doing is reciting what I see in my head. You know, and so, but then I have to remind myself, it's not like somebody put that in your head. Your head came up with that. So you're not a fraud at all just because you're seeing it as a movie. But I'm just retelling it. So when you're upset about it, I'm upset about it because I've experienced it as like a little movie or a TV series or what have you in my own head. If that doesn't sound too crazy.
So let me ask you this. We talk about diversity in publishing. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask, what is publishing to you and what is being Black in publishing to you?
You know, the only thing I ever have issue with is honestly just on the publishing side, the business side, there's always access to capital and manpower. Because it does take a lot to do what it is that we do. You know, you could write the book, have the book edited, go back over your edits, boom, put it out. Right. But if you want it to be a sustainable, like, career and a sustainable, fiscally responsible for you and your family, then it takes a lot more, as far as marketing and reaching out and doing the events and the logistics of that. All of that is manpower and hours. And I liken it to being a mom and a wife. Like, you're not just mom and wife. You know what I'm saying? You're mom, your wife, you're a cook, you're a therapist, you're a nurse, you're an educator, you're just you name it. Yeah. You have to figure out or facilitate access to these different things, a maid, or, and depending on the day, like, you feel like a hostage. So, so there's, and then the same thing when you publish a book. When you publish a book as an independent author, and I think even trad authors, while they don't have to wear as many hats, they still have more on them than they used to, like way back in the day. Yeah. As far as, building their platform and promoting it and seeking out opportunities that they don't necessarily would get from their publisher because their publisher is just not looking for those specific opportunities. Yeah. So, it's always access to capital and manpower. And so that's the juggle. And then when you're also then on the creative side, it's a lot of plates to spin. And it's a lot of trying to balance the importance of the work with the importance of then getting the work out there and then keeping going the work that you've done before, you know what I mean? Yeah. Sustaining that. And with romance in particular, the genre is so, I won't say crowded, I'll say it is thriving so much. So there's so many books coming out every month. Oh, yeah. Folks got back catalogs that tens, some hundreds of books deep that people fall in love with, and so they're trying to work through that, and then they're also trying to work through the new stuff, and then you've got not a hierarchy, but you have some who get more publicity and promotion and have a few more connections and things, and others. So then when they splash and they splash big, so then people want to read those, and then you're kind of like, hey, I'm here. Hi. Could I interest you in another? So that part is difficult. But I think that's a sign of a healthy, growing sustainable genre. So
Mm. Okay.
even and it's I don't think of it as competition among the authors because no single author could ever write enough books to satisfy romance readers
Uh-uh.
because you spend 2 to 6 months to a year writing a book, and it can be a huge book,
Mm-hmm.
5, 6, 700 pages, and you put it out, and a day later, 24, 48 hours, they're like, that was great, what's the next one?
Right. That's true. That's true.
So, um, as long as you take care of your audience, you'll have, and keep working on building that, you'll keep moving and growing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't feel like there's competition because you just okay. So your book comes out and it's a hotness, it's the number one, it's this, that, and the other. Once they read it, they're like, okay, and now what? So unless you got one right there in your back pocket, which we don't, they're going to move on to the next thing. And that's fine because you want them to, stay interested in the genre and stay reading and all of that. And then when it's time for you to come back, like, hey, remember you enjoyed that book before, baby, I got another one. They're like, oh, great, because I haven't heard from you in a while. So, yeah, it's a lot of like struggling and balance, and I still count myself as a baby author, baby publisher. It's only been since Heartbeat came out in 2022,
Really?
and yeah, I launched it in June of 2022. Right?
I can't remember it.
Let me check I'm pretty sure. Let me check the book. Like I wrote it in 2016, so that doesn't even count.
Oh dang.
But yeah, well, see, it only gives me my copyright, so that was in 2016. I don't know, but it's been a minute. It's been a couple of years, but I still feel like you're learning something new every day.
Yeah.
And someone's coming out with like a great idea every week, and you're like, I want to do that. So I've got like post-it notes and notebooks full of just ideas of things that I want to do, and marketing and events, and you can only do so much. So I think I'm new in the sense that people are still discovering me, which is awesome. But I've done it enough that I'm in the phase of really understanding what works for me, and the types of events and places that work for me, and like the number of events and how that works with not just for the business, but for my life and for writing in general. So, I mean, it's cool, it's frustrating, it's exciting, it's horrifying, it's all.
So how do you navigate the industry's limitations and biases towards Black romance?
I let myself get irritated every so often. But for the most part, I feel like they're not talking to me. You know what I mean? So when Goodreads comes out with the best books of the year, they're not talking to me. They're not talking to my audience. They're not talking to my folks. So I don't pay any attention. I'll click it open, do the scan, and go through. Yep, no Black folks, just like I thought. And I go about my business. Because I know who they're talking to. I know who they're targeting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know how limited their range is. So, I literally, any article that comes out of like mainstream or what have you, I scroll anticipating that they're not paying attention. And that allows me to be pleasantly surprised when they are. And when they are beyond like the biggest hit makers, when they pull out some of the indies, then I'm like, now that is fantastic. And then that makes me pay attention to who that author is of the article. Now, jot their little name down. Like, okay, well, let me go follow them. They seem to be interested in a holistic look at the genre versus simply picking, going the easy route. Picking, who shows up on the bestseller list or who the one book talker that's got like 1 million followers is talking about today. Yeah. So that's a good journalist to me. And so I'm always interested in that. Other than that, it's outside noise. You know, I get annoyed when folks don't get their flowers.
Yep.
And it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was listening to Kennedy. She was here in Columbus for the Columbus Book Festival. And she had, first of all, they asked me to do a panel with her. I was like, oh, yeah, sure, of course, outside of that. Meanwhile, freaking the hell out, like, oh, and they asked, like, it wasn't until July, and they asked, like, in February, April, so you had months of, like, freak out internally, like, what if we just get hit by an asteroid and I don't have to do it? It was great, though. But she had a solo part later that evening, and she talked about all of the work that she did to get the second book to the New York Times list. Like the tour, the back-to-back, where she had to go, all of these things, and no shade to Emily Henry, an article comes out from the New York Times on how she doesn't tour, she doesn't do book signings, she doesn't do any of that. She has told her post she's not interested. She don't want to. And she doesn't have to. And she shows up on every list. Now, like I said, there's no shade against her. That's an indictment on the industry. Because these books are amazing. Yet she has to cartwheel, shimmy, slide, leave her family for, weeks on end in order to make inroads. And so that, gets my attention and ticks me off. And I like, discussing, write about it and that sort of thing. But it's like anything else when it comes to our folks and our people. I'm worried about us and what we're doing and how our outlets and our media making sure that they're promoting and elevating. Everything else is either background noise to be ignored or pleasantly surprised when it does the right thing.
So what are some ways Black authors can push back against these barriers, and what support do you think the industry owes? And I specifically am saying owes because they owe y'all a lot. The industry owes Black romance writers.
They owe us the respect to tell our own stories. I don't get into the rights and wrongs on who can write whom and who should be writing whom. I don't think it's anybody's place personally put limits on other folks' art. Because then you start getting into slippery slopes. The thing about art is you can do your art however you do your art. But you have to accept how the audience then takes said art, interprets that art, or, leaves it where it lies.
Yeah.
So that's both art and capitalism. You can make it, I don't have to buy it. So I don't get into telling people what they can and cannot do with their art. But what I will do or will say is that if you are going to pour all of your resources, deploy your entire marketing department and pull out all the stops for an author who is not of color, who is not of Black, who is not of the particular community in which they are writing, you need to do the same and more for the ones who are writing in that community. And that's something, again, Kennedy spoke about, and it kind of was a light bulb moment. She said she does not want equal promotion, she wants equity. So equity is not that, you know what I mean? If you give, I'll just say a white author, I won't even have to name names, $100,000 for their promotion, and you give me $100,000 for my promotion. I'm coming in, for audience wise and barrier wise, let's say $50,000 down. So actually, you only gave me $50,000.
Right.
Well, they have the full, the full use of the force. I'll put it that way. So,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to do more. You have to, if you're talking about wide-ranging cross audience support for a book, You really have to put it in when it comes for us. And it's not because our books are subpar anyway, or our stories are weird or different or not identifiable or relatable. They are.
Yeah.
Is simply you have to overcome folks' biases. Period.
Yeah, that's
So
the thief in the
you
night.
know the Good Morning Americas and the middle America book lists and that sort of thing and the book clubs. You have to do more. You have to present these authors like they're all, even though they are, but you have to remind people that they're all American authors.
I think
Ridiculous, but
I think that like I've come to this saying because I heard it ever since I heard this speech. It has now resonated with me so much. I don't want room at your table, nor do I want to make the table. I want the fucking foundation. That resonated with me so much. And
yeah.
with the foundation comes equity, respect. That is the foundation I'm trying to shape. Not I don't want your table. I don't want to make my own table. I want to build the foundation. You know what I'm saying? Because the foundation is the cornerstone. That's it. That's all. And you build on that. So that's what it resonated with me so much, and it resonates so much in life and in the book industry. And I was just like, damn, when I heard it, I was like, damn, she's right.
I mean, you look at Oathbound. There's no reason why we had to create an entire campaign of Black women going into stores to see where did you put the book, for them to be basically publicly shamed and embarrassed into putting the book where it belonged, which was in the front, in his own table with his own hurrah and faldy doll and all of that. Like making sure that we created, and I say we as a collective, I didn't do it, but we, not trying to take credit for anybody. I was busy, but Black women banding together was like, no, any other fantasy, romantasy, YA fantasy book that comes out, there's midnight, launches and the parties and the this, that, and the other. We shouldn't have to. We should do it because we want to. We shouldn't have to do it ourselves in order for it to be done. Because if Black women hadn't come through for Oathbound, it would have and it's an amazing series, an amazing book, well received, well regarded. It would have been twiddling his thumb somewhere. And then I'm talking about trad publishing. The unfortunate part of that is then they use your previous book's success or lack thereof to determine what it is that you do next.
Yeah, I've
so
noticed
if you're not promoting it, and if you're not doing what it needs to be done, which I never really quite understand because you're still making money. Don't you want to make money?
I keep saying that. You know what? I have been saying that so much lately. Like, you don't like money? God.
So I think the general belief is that the money's not there. And I'm like, ask Target if the money's there or not.
Right.
Because when we decide not to, you miss us when we're gone. So obviously we're there.
Sam's Club, Target.
Exactly. So traditionally, I think that's where we're lacking as far as indie goes. I would like to see more independent authors and they're indie publishers if they're publishing their own book. Get the kind of deals that other indie authors are getting, where they're able to keep, they're able to strike these publishing deals where they can get their physical books into stores. They're getting those distribution deals. We need more of that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the bookstores are not even indie bookstores don't pick up indie books to carry. For whatever reason. So we do a whole lot of support indie bookstores, and they're like, okay, but we're not carrying you. So, I mean, so you're kind of stupid. Like, oh, okay. So we're in it together, but I guess not. So I think there are an amazing amount of opportunities that white indie authors that are getting. Not saying undeservingly. I'm just saying those offers also need to be extended to some really amazing Black indie authors who are putting out amazing work and amazing marketing. Like Gray Huffington, her marketing, man, please. Her stuff is amazing. And I recognize it every time I see it. I don't even have to see the whole video or the whole book. If I just see her marketing is so good, it's so consistent, I can just see the font and I know it's her.
But you know, a lot of times, unfortunately, y'all marketing, y'all rollouts get stolen. From the other side, I'm not saying all white authors do it. I'm not saying all white publishers do it, but that is a true fact that y'all rollouts, y'all stories, y'all marketing. They see the benefit of how the Black consumer is looking at your marketing, and they take that same marketing and put it to a white author, and they'll say, "Oh, that worked." And see, those Black people, they really like that. Let's bring it over here like an original thought and give it to our.
We've seen that for forever.
Yes.
Back in, I don't know, I don't watch commercials anymore, but I'm assuming it still is happening. Come February, McDonald's has always got a black choir and a candle. You know what I'm saying? Celebrating MLK Day. You know what I mean?
It ain't changed.
Okay, well, see, there you go. So, I mean, that's nothing new. Like I said, I just think the respect needs to be there, the equity needs to be there, and they really need to keep. Some are, but they really need to keep in mind when they're in these meetings, and having these events, looking around and saying, "Who don't we see?"
Yeah.
And why are we not seeing them? And the answer is not because they're not there, because they are. The answer is not because there's not an audience, because there is. It's your internal systems. And then the other thing that I would say, and you as an influencer can smack me around about it, is that I like a little schmuck. I can take it. Is that we also cannot be lazy when it comes to promoting within our own culture. We go for the same authors over and over and over again, which is, let me say, if they're fantastic, every time they drop an eyelash, yes, promote it. And I know creating content is difficult. And so, we're all trying to figure out ways to streamline it and, get more bang for our buck. But if I see you and every time I see you it's the same 12 to 14 authors, same 12 to 14 books under different lists, I'm bored. I'm bored, and I feel like you're really not checked in.
Yeah, I've been screaming this from the rooftops. I have been saying you're in your reader slump because you don't go outside of your genre. You stay
But
within
even outside of your genre, I mean, go outside. You can stay in your genre, but pick up somebody else. Let's see more. And don't ask for suggestions. Oh, my favorite thing.
Oh Lord, I know what you're about to say. I know what you.
I'm looking for suggestions, and I'm talking about my Black influencers, my people of color. Because it feels simply, I'm looking for engagement on this post. Because people will come and suggest 999,000 books in that exact genre with those exact tropes, with everything that you're looking for. And I will never see you say a single word about any of those suggested books for the next 6 months. And then here you come around again. I'm looking for suggestions. No, you're not. You're looking for engagement.
Yeah.
Stop playing.
Unfortunately, I I have, it's either that or they're pinning books against each other.
Yeah.
And that's something I really don't like. Every author has a different writing style. And it had happened with Demon Streams, and I think it was Jaquel's book, but somebody was like, I want something written like Demon Streams or like with the Delgados. It has to be on that, it has to be written just like that. Who the fuck writes like the same person?
That person. You have to wait for her to write a next book, I guess.
Like,
I mean,
Jesus.
you have opinions. I mean, I listen, I don't. Like, I read all my reviews, but I come from a journalism background, so where you're writing from the time you start journalism school on through is like dissected, blown up, torn apart, put up for the entire class to see everything you did wrong, and if you did one thing that's on the do not do list wrong, it's like a 0 for the day. So you kind of get like not even a scab, you get like tough skin. So like reviews don't really impact you. Now they will make me laugh, or I will find them interesting. But then I send them to like my husband or my girl Evelyn Sola, and then they blow up about it. And that's entertainment for me. I'm like, oh, they're gonna hate this. And I just watch them have fits, and
So I want to get into your writing. I want to get into your writing because a lot of people, y'all are missing out on this amazing series. Like, I don't know how much I can applaud this series because the Courageous series is just amazing. And I know some of you girlies don't read interracial romance. You're missing out. I'm not going to make you do shit.
Not all of the books are interracial, but yeah.
Right. I'm not going to make... Now, I have to preface that because I know some of y'all like this.
There's that whole thing. And that's... Listen, everybody has their preference. Everybody has their triggers. I don't want anybody reading something that is either going to be triggering for them or they're automatically uninterested in.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing you get into a book and you're just like, I didn't really enjoy it. It's another thing that you don't like those type of books and then you read it and then you write about how you don't like those type of books. What you read it for? Not doing that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself or anybody else.
I try to give them warning because, some of y'all like to squabble, but, try Jesus, not me. Okay?
My thing is, I don't care who's loving on her. Is the sister being well loved, supported like she needs to be supported? Is her back getting blown out? And is it the kind of love that makes you pause, take a breath, and wish that you had it? I don't care what he looks like.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what her stories are. All of it. Everything she just said. So
I want folks not. I like writing stories where he's not only going to burn the world for her. I mean, that's helpful. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's going to burn the world, but I like the kind of stories where he can go that route. But he also sees like the little things. Like I don't want just his revenge and anger. I want his softness and vulnerability. So that's what I do.
So what initially sparked the whole Courageous Love series? What was the specific reason, if there was one, or life experience that made you say, I need to write this. I need to write this right now?
It was never supposed to be a series. I was never going to write romance. I enjoyed reading it. Always have. I've been reading romance since before I should have been reading it. I think that's all of us. And it was a period in time where, business-wise, things weren't going really good. Clients had dried up. It was economic downturn, so that just affected everything. My freelance gigs weren't gigging like they were gigging, and I couldn't get hired anywhere. So it was just sucking. So I got these babies, I got this husband, we're looking at each other like, and waiting to see what's going to happen. And I needed an outlet and an escape, something to take my mind off of this constant churn, right? So I got back into reading for pleasure. And after like really getting back into it for a couple of months and devouring everything, I can get my hands on, these characters came into my head. and they were having these discussions and these scenes and this breaking up and making up and fights and sex and heat, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I mean, I would roll over in my sleep, and you know how when you partially wake up and you have a thought, the thought was them. I'm in the shower, the thought is them. I'm like, okay, I'm tripping. I don't do that. I'm a journalist, and at the time I had just published children's books, so I was like, that would be a nice little side thing. Children's book, not romance. But I was like, okay, I'm just going to write down the scenes that I'm seeing to get the voices out of my head, right? And by the time I got finished, it was about 3 months over the summer. I had 6 notebooks full of stuff, full of scenes, full of heartbeat. And I don't write in order, which makes life kind of more complicated. Because I could get things out faster if I wrote in order, but I can't give you like chapter 10 and then give you chapter 2. So anywho, so I fooled around with it, and I was like, well, maybe I have something, but I was scared to put anything out, and whether I should put my name on it or not because it's spicier and all that stuff. And then my husband got sick. It's been almost 4 years now, and we didn't know if he was going to make it or not. And he finally came home, and I was sitting there, like you do with newborns, making sure they're still breathing. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like leaning over top of him, like, are you breathing?
Oh, Lord Jesus.
and just like, figuring out this latest plot twist, and we're young. Like, you expect to, be there for your spouse when they get sick, when they're old. Like, I'm thinking 80. Yeah, of course. Not in our early 40s. Not that at all. So my brain was like, what are you waiting for? Like, obviously tomorrow is not guaranteed. So, and what's the worst that could happen? And I was like, well, what if it bombs and everybody knows I put out a book, and then what? None. Okay. So I started the process, and I made my own goals and what success would look like for me. So I wasn't going to compare myself to any other authors or anything that anybody else was doing. I had clues to what to do because I did do my research. I'm a big nerd. I do my research and everything. But I had no idea on what to expect. I had no audience. I hadn't built anything like that. I'm just doing, and I want to see if I can do it. Yeah. And I went indie because my children's book was published by a small press, but I wanted to do this indie because I wanted to control everything. I wanted it to be, the length that I wanted it to be. I thought it was good enough. I could get an agent and all that stuff, but they didn't want me to cut so much, and I wanted to do it myself. So I did, from the cover down to everything else. And like I said, I set my own goals for what success looked like. I wanted to sell 100 copies. I figured I could do that. I know 100 people who love me. Nothing else. They'll stroke my little ego. And then I blew past that, and I was like, oh, okay. So we, kind of kept setting stretch goals and that sort of thing. And then the feedback was really great. It did really well. And people were like, what's next? What's the next one? I was like, right. I got going on that. Right. And it kind of just, went from there. So it went from having like the story and having fun, pulling things together and putting things out to like this business and this career that, I take care of my babies on. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with the country and meet folks and sit on panels where people, appreciate my opinion. Yeah, come back home and clean up cat vomit. So that's something people don't tell you. You go from being brilliant and lauded and a genius, and people wanting you to sign their books, and you're like, yes, and you're going through the airports, and then you come back home, and the cat that threw up on something.
So that leads into my next question. Like, writing is a full-time job for you, and even when it's not your only job, it's still a job.
It's still a job.
How do you both? What's the word I'm looking for? How do you maintain a balance? In your personal life,
I don't know. I'll let you know. Responsibility. I have no idea.
Damn.
I have no clue. I'm hanging on by my teeth. Like you see this, like I didn't comb my hair a little bit and got a little bit of face on. Mm-mm. This is just for you.
Oh,
Any other time, I look completely insane and like I just got ran over. So,
oh.
I'm hanging on by my teeth. I'm gonna be honest. Like some days, I feel like I got it under control. You know, like I'm doing the things that I need to be doing and being the places I need to be at and all of that. And then other days, it's just like I don't know. I fed some people and I got like 10 words down. So we'll just go. We'll just go with that. It's like anything else, whether you're writing, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a school teacher, you're kind of doing. And so, and my husband has a chronic illness. He has end stage renal failure. So, that was a new normal, and we keep having kind of new normals with changes in treatment and that sort of thing. So I'm getting kind of used to not taking or getting settled in any kind of routine. Because about every year, every 6 months, it kind of changes on you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have any wisdom on that one. I make lists and try to follow my list. I am always ambitious with my list for the day. And if I can get one or two things done, then I, kind of try to remind myself to give some grace.
Yeah.
As I'm laying there in bed, like I still have 14 things I'm supposed to do today.
Girl.
Sometimes so it gets continued to the next day and the next day. I'm getting better at prioritizing what is absolutely important.
Yeah.
And then recognizing I'm getting better. I'm not as good as recognizing what isn't as important as I'm putting the importance on. And then why am I doing that? It's usually an avoidance thing. So if I'm doing this, it's because I'm trying to avoid doing something else.
Yeah.
When it comes to like my husband and the kids and the cat and all of that, like what is it that they can do?
Yeah.
And that whole delegation thing and getting out of my own way, whether it's done the way I want it done or done in the timing in which I've asked it to be done.
Yeah.
Because teenagers and kids are kids, so they know if they wait too long to do it, I'm gonna come behind and do it.
It ain't no better when they grown. It ain't no better when they grown.
That ain't helping me none.
Look, I'm being honest.
I need help.
I'm being honest. It get worse. It get worse. It worse.
So yeah, I don't have any magic pill because I don't have it all together.
Yeah.
So if somebody's looking for advice, try lists. Try lists, try delegating and reminding. I will say this. One of the things that I learned that has helped me kind of tune things in and keep it in the right perspective is nighttime they call it demon time for other things. I call it demon time because that's when like I feel the worst. Nighttime is when everything feels so overwhelming. And as you're shutting things down for the night and I start these questions. Why is this like this? Who left that there? Why wasn't that? You know what I mean? And it just ramps and ramps and ramps. And then things become, it's always, 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 always to the point where, I'm just going to pack a bag, get in the car and just drive west.
Right. I just told them I'm going to go to a secluded place in Alaska.
Right? And just sit there like this.
Y'all not finna stress me out. Okay.
Right. So I've learned that, after 10:30 to like 2 a.m. when things start ramping up and it feels impossible and and you're looking at the day, the next day to stop and say, okay, what time is it? Oh, okay, it's 1 o'clock. I'm doing the thing. Go to bed. It'll look better in the morning. And it usually does.
Yeah.
It does. So, and then as far as authoring and writing and publishing and all of that, have your goals. And it's cool to look at other authors and what they're doing because there's great ideas and great opportunities. you don't have to do everything all at once, and you honestly really can't.
Yeah.
Very few people who have the bandwidth, the manpower, and the capital to do everything that they're saying. And not all of it's going to work for you. Like
In
last
this
year,
economy.
yeah.
Whew.
And last year, I went to every event I was invited to. I was like, I'm going, like they said, if it's an opening of a letter, I'm going to be there. I went everywhere, all over the place, all the time. And it was cool. And I was able to see what worked and what didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
What audiences were cool, it wasn't, and what it wasn't cool for me. And kind of understand myself more in those kind of environments.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as a not widely known author, when you do these events, you learn that you're going someplace. No matter where you go, you're constantly you're introducing yourself
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah.
And so that's an output of energy that you have to account for.
Yeah.
And so even more so on my end, because my husband has an illness, I can't come from these very public events and come straight back into the house. Like he has a compromised immune system.
Yeah.
So if I'm gone for 3 days, that's 7 days I'm actually gone, because I'm gone for 3 days, and then for 3 to 4 days I'm in isolation, making sure I don't have anything, bringing it back to me.
Yeah.
So all of that you kind of, and however your life and your rhythm is moving, you kind of have to take into account. But you got to go out there and do that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's not crazy. You have to go out there and do the things that you think you want to do to see what works for you.
That's true.
It's all of I think an experiment, and some events are profitable. Boozy was profitable. Others, I kind of count as a marketing, as advertising. So your ROI is not going to be the book sold, but it's the connections made and that sort of thing. And then other things were a complete waste of my time, space, and energy. But you don't know until you go.
I think because my husband just put me on a sit your ass down for a minute, because I'm sick. I literally have a hernia, and and I have to get surgery to get the hernia removed, and half of my stomach is getting removed.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
fine.
You can't tell on the outside, but on the inside, there's a lot of stuff going on. So it started to cause problems, because I have a nerve damage from COVID. So it made the nerve damage, GERDs, that is caused by the hernia counteract, and it caused me to be in so much crippling pain.
Oh,
I was constantly over here, this state, this. He said, nope.
Yeah. And that's that you have somebody that's come along and pull your tail, like, hey. So, how's this working out for you? Is it working out for you? Let me tell you, it's not working for us. So
right.
What does that mean to you? Because I ended up I have asthma. I've had it since I was 6 months old. I got pneumonia in February. And first thing I was like, well, I've finally proven every old black woman in my family correct. Who always predicted, you're going to get pneumonia going. You're going to get pneumonia going. So 40-some odd years later, yes, I finally got pneumonia. Woo-hoo. But that was a sit your behind now.
Yeah.
What you gonna do about this? And it's been the first time in several months that I did just sit.
Yeah.
So, and that came after I had I never really got diagnosed, but all of the my hair is going crazy. All of the check marks for exhaustion. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take a weekend. I'm just going to be in the basement away from everybody. I ended up taking that time to clean up the basement so I could relax, but I never got to the relaxing part. And then I was like, forget it. I'm just never going to do it. So I just went back into the thing. Next thing you know, I had pneumonia. And I was like, oh.
That's why I say black women, we need sometimes somebody to tell us to sit our ass down. Because if we don't, we tend to go until we just crash out.
Right. And who is that helping? All the plates that we say we have to keep going, all of the things that we say we have to do that won't get done unless we do them. Who's going to do them if you die?
Th- That was him.
Who are you
That was
gonna
him. I was
help when
like,
you gone?
who go?
You're
Who?
not helping nobody. So I mean, I got people that I still have them, and I'm gonna do it today. I'm gonna commit to doing it today. But people who have, wrote about David's treatment is changing again, so now he's doing a different kind of dialysis at home,
Mm.
and I have to be more kind of hands on with it, including like poking him with needles. I didn't
Yeah.
go to school. I didn't go to school for that. There's a reason. My mom and granny are nurses. I went for journalism, friends. So, I got a little fake block of flesh that I'm poking needles into. I'm like, what? This is like when you have kids for the first time and they just let you out the hospital and you're like, y'all really
Yeah.
gonna let us go? Like, I feel like there should be some level of something. Like, y'all have degrees, went to school. You just giving me, like, rubber gloves and a needle and saying, go for it. Um,
I think that's why I didn't. I got accepted,
yeah,
and I was about to start, but then I was like, I value my time.
yeah.
It's too much. I ain't got
It's
the energy.
it's interesting. So I wrote about it, and people were like, "Well, what can we do?" And can we bring meals? Can we do this? Can we do that? Someone offered to clean my house, and the first thing I thought was, before you come over to clean, I would have to clean. That's how wacky like the issues are. Like I couldn't let you in my dirty house to clean the house, but I understand that doesn't make sense. So even it's not that there's not support there, it's trying to figure out how to let go and accept that support.
Ooh, that's a word right there.
So
That's a word right there.
when I figure it out, I'll let you know. It's
That's a
going
word.
slowly. I did say yes to meals, and that's
That's a word. To
because I don't
let
like
go.
to let go.
To let go is the hardest freaking thing.
And then, but what? And then so you cannot say justifiably, I have to do it all by myself. No one is this. I'm the. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the whole martyr thing, because there is support there. It's just
Mm.
that your ass is blocking that support.
Yeah.
So
Ah, damn. So
yeah.
let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle, I guess you can call it creative burnout?
Mm.
And what keeps you motivated when writing feels overwhelming?
Mm. The only thing that feels overwhelming with the writing is the deadline.
Mm.
But because I'm in charge, self-imposed. But there's a rhythm to it, and is now business related, so it's related to your income, and you have things coming and all of that. So I will say, after Heartbeat, it was difficult to write Chaser because I felt like there were expectations now because Heartbeat did
Mm.
so well. Um, so I couldn't have my second book be a flop.
Mm.
Um, but I've kind of gotten over that. Like people are either gonna like it or not, or they're gonna like parts of it, and they're not.
Mm.
As long as I'm staying true to what it is that I'm writing, and I'm trying to grow and stretch and do the work that I know I can do.
Mm-hmm.
How it's received once it's out there, unless it's something harmful, that really doesn't have anything to do with it.
Mm.
But I will get stuck, and I think the best way that I move past it, and it doesn't work for every author because a lot of authors are plotters. Like, they have it plotted out, they go from beginning, middle, to end. I don't write that way.
Mm.
I have scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a general idea of where I know where they're going to go and end up.
Okay.
And so I write all the scenes that I've thought of so far for the book and put them on post-it notes, the
Mm-hmm.
scenes, and I stick them on my window. I've taken to arranging them sort of kind of in a timeline ish, but I don't write it in a timeline. So I write whatever it is that's exciting or interesting, or I've got the vibe for, or I'm feeling this particular song. and that song makes me think of this scene or fits the scene, and so then I'll write it that way. So that helps me from getting stuck, because it's almost like homework when you're plotting through writing this part, because you really want to write over here. You want to write, you want to write the ending, or the first, meetup, or the first fight, or the action scene for some of my romantic suspense. I don't wait to treat myself. I go ahead and eat the ice cream. I eat whatever scene that I want to eat that day.
Yeah.
And then that once I have all the scenes done, then I go through and, move them around and see who flows into what, and where we kind of like bridges, and we're, we've missed something or we've dropped something, then I can bring that through. It's I think it's definitely a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Because you don't necessarily see how everything is shaping up until you put all of the pieces together. But like I said, it keeps me from getting stuck and bored. And I find, like, if I'm bored in the middle of writing something, it's probably not working. Drop it and come back to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you force it through, it's funny. Your readers will pick up on things, and they'll say, this felt forced, or this was a little like, this part got a little dull, or, this felt a little rushed, and you're like, yeah, I was rushing through because I didn't want to write it no more. I wanted to get to the other part. I wanted to blow some stuff up or to kill somebody.
Do you think, as an author, sometimes it requires you addressing like difficult, raw, and even painful realities? What are some of the hard issues you've tackled in your writing that made you pause or deeply reflect? Reflect.
A little bit of everything. From being open and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, not just with the partner that's in the book, but with, other friends and family, and standing on who it is that you are. Is one thing to go through the journey to discover, or commit to go through the journey of discovering who you are. Is another thing to then stand before other folks and say, this is who I am. Who you knew has grown up or changed or evolved or whatever, and you can accept this person as they are, or you can, figure out how you live without this person. So that's a difficult thing for me. I'm a pleaser. I don't know if you can tell. I'm why can't we get along? I want everybody to be friends. Like the Lego movie, sit on the double-decker couch and be buddies. And so when it is not that, it kind of short circuits my brain a bit, and I have to kind of make that okay. Womp womp.
So let's look at the flip side of that. What are some of the soft issues in your books? Things that bring joy or healing to your readers. What are those? What does those themes look like to you?
I think they're the other side of the same coin. So the learning to accept yourself and stand on who you are as a person, and recognize that evolution and force other people to acknowledge that evolution. There's joy in that. Yeah. There's joy in meeting that person and that feeling of, that peace, those pieces sliding into place. There's joy, and there's a softness and a vulnerability in that. That you have with yourself, with the people you're choosing to be in your circle and witness it, and take part in that. I think, Heartbeat had issues of partner violence, which was difficult, but then the joy is coming out on the other side. And kind of like Maya says at one point, when she's now with her partner in the book,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really taking a big step, and her friends are like, we don't know this man. You go out here because obviously you having issues. We bringing you home. And, and she's like, she sits them down and she says, I want you to understand,
Mm-hmm.
um, and kind of not just not judge me by, but trust that I've learned from the worst mistakes that I've made.
Mm.
And there's joy in, I think, taking ownership of that,
Yeah.
and realizing you have the courage to step out and to do that. Because when she got to where she moved to, she had a no men vow, like absolutely
Mm-hmm.
100%. I'm done. This
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
new name, no men, we're done.
Yeah.
And so she spent a lot of time running, but when she finally was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's so much joy in that. There's joy in that. I write a lot about found family.
Yes, you do, and I love
People
that.
that you choose to make. Um, you choose to make those people a part of your family, and there's joy in finding and making those connections, where you may have wished you had them in what you were born into.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then, I try to keep it like life is. I mean, I've been at funerals where we were like inappropriately laughing. Include
Yep.
that young woman that you just interviewed who is so poised and brilliant and on the bag. Do not sit next to her at a funeral. And she started it. We were being good. And then she started,
Oh, Jesus.
and the whole row of us are like, okay, so you can't take the Clarks nowhere because we're cackling, right? So when you find those connections and um that I don't know, that those spots that you wouldn't necessarily, you think that, long standing history and familiar connection and all of that is going to be your base, but what you find as you grow up, and you go out into the world, is that humanity and those connections that we have as humans are beyond what you've been born into.
So let
So
me.
there's joy and softness and happiness in that. And then, of course, the love, right? So
Yeah, you write that love, love.
the gooey, I notice you, I see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm interested in you,
Yeah.
And fingertips, when she starts talking, he stops what he does. Whatever he's doing, he stops what he does just so he can listen to her. And he's
Yeah.
interested. And she notices that he's not, if he's sitting there drinking his coffee and she says a word, he stops and he looks at her. And he
Mm.
gives her that full attention.
Yeah.
And he sees her in a way that a lot of people don't. She makes it her, part of her thing is, and her wall is, she makes it so that she's in the background. She
Mm.
enjoys supporting others and she handles things, but she's in the background. She's off to the side in the wings while the show goes on. And while
Yeah.
everybody's paying attention to the clown circus, he's watching her.
Yeah.
And she tells him, because he's an intense kind of person, which can be a lot for, people in his family. Like, they're like, we're grown, can you leave us alone? Get off our backs.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells him that she likes that in him because she likes being in his spotlight.
Mm.
So,
So,
yeah.
so how do you? Let's talk about the found family theme aspect of it. You
Mm-hmm.
do found family in your romance suspense, but you also
Mm-hmm.
do found family in the rom com
I do.
arena.
I just
Now,
like found family.
so how do you make each one different because of the subject title, the themes, the plotting, whatever? How is found family different in rom com, and how is found family different in contemporary and romance suspense?
Right. That's a good question. It's definitely situational.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I do a lot of people watching, And so I noticed in the different ways that people bond during different times.
Mm.
So there's the kind of, not trauma bonding, but
Mm-hmm.
trauma based interaction that
Mm.
kind of, or trauma in not based, but maybe influenced or
Mm.
triggered interaction that kind of brings you together as humans. You know,
Mm.
we've either experienced this thing together, or I see something in you that calls to the protector or the supporter in me, or I recognize something in you that I've seen or lived through,
Mm-hmm.
and so I know how to support you in that because I
Mm-hmm.
know what it feels like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and then in rom com, there are funny situations and life situations
Mm-hmm.
that just bring people together. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Whether it's a side joke that you say to something to
yeah,
somebody that you're standing in line with getting coffee, right? And you share
yeah.
a little joke or whatever. We have all of these different reactions and interactions to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just going about our daily lives that
Mm-hmm.
um, oddly enough, you wouldn't, to listen to the media and news and people talk about it, you wouldn't think that it would happen so easily, but we are not as different as we're told we are. And our experiences are not as unique as we think they are.
True.
Um, so that commonality still seems to find its way to us and brings us kind of together. And you always have the introverts that are pulled along by those extroverts. They see you like, hey, come on,
Who you telling?
I see you over there, come on over here. And they're like, oh, no, no, I'm good. But the next thing and when you're trying to, folks who are trying to fly under the radar,
Mm-hmm.
you never know who's watching and seeing. You think
Mm.
you're flying under the radar, but in reality, you're coming into the same coffee shop or you're walking down the same street every day. And there are people that are, they notice you and they see you.
Mm-hmm.
And, one kind of goofball interaction with a dog, kind of sets everything off. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I try to make sure, especially because again I center black women, that I try to make sure that the fullness of humanity is portrayed and laid out in my books.
Mm.
That everything is not all heat. There's that softness. There's the heat and the intimacy. That's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily bedroom related.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the intimacy between friends that turns into that sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
The humanity of just everyday life that we all experience, and they may have these extraordinary moments in
Mm-hmm.
extraordinary situations,
Mm-hmm.
but within those is very real ordinary human life.
Mm.
So, black women get the both ends of the sword, right? We're
Yeah.
either you know completely trauma based and we shall overcoming everything, or we're beyond exceptional, right? We're
Right.
magic and
Yeah.
and captains of this and
Yeah.
always know the right thing and the advisors and holding it down. Well, if there three things can be true at one time. We
Yeah.
can be overcoming, we can be magic, but in the middle is human that humanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every day we're not marching. Every day we're not,
Yeah.
making the world turn. Sometimes we're just going to the grocery store. More
Right.
often than not. You know what I mean?
Yes. Facts.
A lot of times we're just vacuuming the floor that day. So
Right.
yeah.
So, do
So
you think? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that was it. Just we're
Um,
human, and so I like to make sure that's clear.
I know earlier
Mhm.
we talked about book events and literary spaces.
Yeah.
So the mainstream literary events that
Mhm.
are ran predominantly by white event promoters,
Mhm.
a major book festivals, conventions, and trade shows
Mhm.
has historically. I'm not saying okay. I want to preface this, y'all. Anybody that's listening to this is just a general statement.
I'm interested.
Has historically prioritized
Mhm.
white authors and
Mhm.
white audiences.
Yes.
Black authors often struggle to get space, attention, and fair promotion at those type of
Mhm.
events.
Mhm.
How, as a black author, you see the tide changing or the tide is not changing?
Mm. So I think there are a couple of things in play. So I think the book events are being made aware that they're lacking
Mm-hmm.
in diversity and representation and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, book events are majorly about money.
Yes.
The love of books, but everybody want to make some money. So they promote who they think are going to bring the people in, and
Yeah.
I think the overwhelming theory is we promote the A's, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have B's and C's there that
Mm-hmm.
will benefit from all the folks that are there.
Mm-hmm.
I think where that works to a certain extent. I think where it fails is that you don't charge um, the attendees and the authors with being intentional about what they do while they're in those spaces,
Mm-hmm.
which means stopping at folks' tables. Like if you're, what I would love to see um, is maybe in the paperwork, once you register for the event and that sort of thing, kind of grouping up, and it doesn't have to be by table, but grouping by author, like these folks are all rom-coms and these folks, and so you're not necessarily separating out folks of color. I think in the
Mm-hmm.
larger ones, you can separate, like, oh, and these are BIPOC books, blah blah blah. But then they just group BIPOC. Well, some folks, like if you're into hockey romances, black folks write hockey romances.
Yes.
So
And
you have a
rugby.
listing of these are your hockey romances, and these are your this, and these are your that, and then you like in the opening talks and opening events say, this is what we're here to do. We're here to celebrate books and have a great time. Make sure, you go to all the authors that you want to go. But we have other folks here. We have your next best favorite author.
Mm.
And kind of put forth that you're not just here to get your book signed by X, Y, and Z, and then
Mm.
spending the rest of the signing time in the hallway chatting up and reading books.
Yeah.
Like there are other, there's other opportunities that you may be missing. And I
Yeah.
don't think it's being put forth as an opportunity. I almost feel like we're being pushed forward like a duty.
Ooh.
You don't have a duty to read me. I don't want you to read me under duress. I want you to read my books because you like books. You like romantic suspense, or you
Mm.
love a light, fluffy Christmas book. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, I want you to read my book,
Mm-hmm.
not because it's February.
Ooh. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Our humanity doesn't show up for 28 days and then we turn into bats for the rest of the year.
Girl. Girl.
You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this. So how does events like the Black Readers Festival, Book Festival, the
Mm-hmm.
Boozy Book Tour,
Mm-hmm.
and other black led events
Mm-hmm.
uh change the game when it comes to black authors?
That is a good question. So both, I would say both type of events, an author's best friend, and I know this doesn't work for everybody,
Mm.
but getting on panels,
Mm.
being on panels, and not just the diversity panels in white spaces,
Mm.
kind of, I don't want to say normalize, but seeing you amongst folks, and
Mm.
we're all talking hockey, or we're all talking rom com, or we're all talking spicy, changes the game in other folks' minds who don't know us.
Mm.
It's that humanizing thing.
Yeah.
You know, that we say is so important for you to read different types of fiction and different points of experience in fiction, because then you're able to put yourself in other folks' shoes and empathize and you know, visit new worlds. Like, that's the whole point of reading, right? Is to
Yeah.
get outside of yourself and have these experiences and explore. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, everybody's not being tied up and whipped. But you can go ahead and explore it and see if that's something that you might be into without showing up to a place like, hey, can somebody tie me up and let me see if I like it? You know? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I think I do both.
Yeah.
I do white and I do BIPOC, black focused
Mm.
events. And I feel like the black focused events are coming home.
Mm.
Like, I go to the white events and we have camaraderie as book lovers. We
Mm-hmm.
have camaraderie as authors.
Mm-hmm.
But I am there for business,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And then with my black bookish events, I'm coming home.
Mm.
There are things that I don't have to explain.
Mm.
I'm not, again, I don't write my book with the white gaze in mind, so
Mm-hmm.
I will never explain why she's putting on a bonnet.
Right. 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 Right.
I don't have to explain, you know, jumping the broom. Like,
Mm.
if when I'm doing the wedding scene at the end, or the bonus or whatever, bonus epilogue, and you know, so and so laid down the broom. I'm not explaining what that means. I don't have to. You already know. I'm writing for who I am. Now, if you're interested, you can go look it up. Google's your friend. It's not that big of a deal. I look up when I'm reading Italian mafia or Russian mafia. I'm looking up words and what that means, and
Yeah.
that sort of thing all the time, because I'm interested. And if I'm not, I just keep on going. You know, whatever. Or I'm using context clues. Hello, but black book events are that nice break in
Mm.
the book festival schedule that
Mm.
kind of reminds me and recenters me, and
Mm.
is warm and cozy and supportive. Even if you don't buy the book, you're still
Yeah.
supportive. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of walking past you and either treating you like you're invisible,
Mm.
or looking at your stuff and then looking away. Yeah, there are, and not every festival is like that, but there are vibes that you get at non folk of color events that you don't get at Boozy. And we haven't done Black Book Festival yet. Can't wait. But I don't.
It was too late to get tickets.
I know, that went quick. I mean, it went so quick. I was shocked because it's such a new event. So I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And so many
Because it's a festival that needed to happen. Because
Oh, absolutely.
we have Steamy Lit, and we have,
Yes.
I forgot the other big one, Ali Khan,
Oh, Polycon. Yeah.
Polycon. We have those big ones, but they're centered more on white authors.
Not Steamy. Steamy is still really focused on BIPOC, but it's not.
Maybe it wasn't Steamy. It's another one.
Mel's idea is we're still way more BIPOC than white, but you do have several white big authors that come.
Yeah.
But they come in service to the mission, so they're not there to be kind of like.
It was one. I can't think of the name of it. It was one that had it was a big one, and it had a whole lot of issues with that one.
Oh, that was well, yeah, a lot of them have a lot of issues. Um,
But that particular one was
but
like
Readers Take Denver, maybe.
that was it. That was
Wow,
it.
that was wild. So
That
I
one.
went to that, and because I love Denver, and I was like, "This is a big one," and I went through a lot to make sure it happened, and it was oddities and shenanigans all weekend. And then the funny thing is, funny for me, not for anyone else. Was I wasn't really affected by much of it.
Yeah.
So I think in spaces, in mixed company,
Mm-hmm.
folks know who to mess with, who not to mess with.
Yeah.
And so some of the volunteers pushing people and other folks cussing folks out or whatever, being nasty. I think bullies pick on who they think they can pick on.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was like, la 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 la, I'm on a panel, and then I do the book signing, and it's going well, la la la, and then like the first day ends, and I'm like, that was great, good job, cool, 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 and then like I start seeing all the feedback, and I'm like, whoa, wait, where was I with that?
You
And
know.
then by the second day, I was just like, oh, okay, all right. Well, again, other than like the hotel, like trying to hurry up and push us out at the end, it was weird. It was weird. It was, and then I come home and I come home and go straight to sleep. I'm exhausted. And because I had a long layover, and while I'm asleep, my phone is blowing up, and it's like all over Threads and TikTok, and my phone is blowing up, and people are asking me, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Because somebody, was SA'd while they were there, and
Jesus.
yeah, somebody else got pushed and hit her face on the concrete, and she got a big old spot. I have no idea. Again, I'm just like, la, 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 la. So I woke up and was like, oh my God, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to email and text back everybody. So I just released a statement. And then my homegirl reached out and was like, why you go to a book event and you got to release a statement? I was like, I don't know. I didn't do it, but I need to tell everybody all at once I was okay. I was like, what the heck happened? I was like, apparently what didn't happen. So again, a lot of it I didn't see. I didn't have to be a part of. Um, but it sucked for a lot of folks, and it was and the fallout is still evident because other bookish events are like now like bending over backwards and working overtime to make sure, which is one of a good thing, that the same things don't happen at theirs.
Yeah.
But I think on the other end, it makes people more, kind of leery about book events.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there is any one thing that's not perfect, which is not going to be, it's a lot of people, it's a lot of moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
And hats off to you and Mel and everybody who puts these events together. I will never do one. I thought I would want to. I am so uninterested. I have seen behind the scenes and no thank you. I will come. I will come and bring my hugs and my books, but no ma'am.
I think this is why I say that the Black Readers Festival is needed, because
absolutely, we need those spaces.
They're on a bigger scale that has not been used except for Essence Festival, and that's not even a lot. Even
that's not a book festival. It's
more of a music film type
and community. Yeah. So no, these are your events, and these Black bookish events are needed for several reasons. One, because like I said, it's like coming home for authors. Two, it's an opportunity for all of us to get together and make these connections and that's which I think is really, really important because we only see each other a lot of times through these spaces, interviews, and our social media and that sort of thing. So it's important for that camaraderie. It's important for Black readers to be able to come into these spaces and see all their favorite authors and new authors and really see the depth and the breadth of what's being offered out here. because again, our social media is curated, right? You are
Yeah.
served partially what they want you to see and partially what you have told them what you want to see. And so everyone has biases and everyone misses things. But when it's there and it's in your face, it is so much more powerful. And then I don't know where number I am, third, fourth, or whatever. Not more importantly, but equally as important, because without capital and promotion, then we don't have a genre, we don't have an industry. Seeing the power of this money that we have. The power of the talent, right? It's the power of the community, and it's the power of this money.
Facts.
Because we are bringing together, these events are bringing together heavy hitters that you don't know. Heavy. There are so many 6-7 figure authors that are just like,
you never know,
that you had no idea.
No idea.
You think they struggling like everybody else. Whatever. Bills is paid, okay? Paid like a Mickey Ficky, all right? Second homes in places and whatnot. So the power of not only the Black authors and their ability to draw these crowds, these, huge numbers of folks, the dollar in which these readers that are coming in with and what they're interested in spending their money on, we know. And even statistically, like, it is, I don't know why the hard facts are not being believed, but Black women are the drivers of this bookish space.
They are.
And we have been for a very long time.
Yeah.
And that's still not being respected. And so if it's not going to be respected in these broader spaces, we need to, establish and keep these spaces so that we have a home, we have an opportunity to do these things, because there's nothing stopping us from doing it.
Yeah, I mean, from where the Boozy Bookstores first started to now, is now starting to be so much of a pleasure to hear a lot of new authors or older authors saying, damn, I just sold out my whole table. It has gotten to the point, a lot of the authors, when they come to Boozy Book Tour now, they bring a code so you can buy the ebooks because they sell out of their books. And I love seeing it. And I talked to some of the readers, and the readers like, I don't know these authors, but the way they come to me, like we're friends, you know what I'm saying, at their tables, I have to buy their book. I just have to.
Absolutely. I mean, there's even a difference in how personally, and it's not respectability politics. It's, again, knowing your audience. So how I have to come to different events. And so when I come to a predominantly white event, there's no such thing as me showing up in no makeup. There's no such thing as me showing up in comfy clothes. Yeah. Absolutely not. They will walk past you like you're the help. But there are white authors who can basically like roll out of bed, sell out.
Dang.
I've never heard of them before. Doesn't matter. They've got skulls on their covers. They've got, it's a MMF or what have you, and that's the trope I like. Good enough. I got you. Let me show up down in like regular clothes, as like I don't exist.
Girl, they'll have a fit.
Like I don't exist. And honestly, I mean, even with influencers, one of the things that struck me about Denver is that the influencers were let in, like, I want to say 15, 20 minutes earlier than everyone else. And it was interesting because there was a level of entitlement that there's several who walked around expecting the authors to give them free books.
Oh, Lord.
Like, you got in early so you could meet us and buy your books early and have to sit in line. Not that everybody's going to give you free books. But then there was this, I'm looking for who is going to translate to hits and money on the site. Whereas our events, we have the same thing in, influencers will be, like identified or pulled out or, have access early or have their own events, to meet us and everything. and it's definitely a more, hey, how are you? Not everybody. You still have folks who equate follower count to, I don't know,
The
prestige,
success. They think
or
that's
yeah, right, or
they
so
successful.
that dictates the level of whether they're going to speak or not. You find that in everything. So you find that in everything and with everyone. I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know. I'm just gonna write your little name down here. I don't press. Like I said, I like to be friends with everyone. I think we can
Yeah.
all, you know,
Yeah.
and if that's not for you, it's cool. But there's still a level of respect that you receive without someone else vouching for your receipt of respect.
Mm.
So if I'm at a white event and I'm not on a panel, it makes it that much harder
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just some chick at the thing. But if I'm on the panel, well, then suddenly of a white event, then suddenly someone without melanin has vouched for me.
Mm.
I need to be. So then they come and check you out. I mean, part of it has to do with your personality and what you say on the panel, and being able to like having that platform and telling people about your book and what have you.
Yeah.
There is it's a different in vibe. It's a different in intention.
Yeah.
Is a different in attention. Um, so I don't rule those out
Mm.
at all because it's still like I said, my books are for Black women. I write them with Black women in mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't necessarily pursue other folks for reading the stories, but the stories are about the humans who find themselves in these points in their lives. And
Yeah.
that's universal appeal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you invite me, or I think it might be cool, or it's close to the house. Let's do it. I'm all for the experiences and stuff, but there's definitely a different vibe. And even within white events, there are different vibes. There are vibes that even the white women who are going to them find off-putting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are some events that are just like, I'm not coming back to that, and I hear that a lot. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Ugh.
So I think it's the intention behind what the event is about and how people go about putting the event together. That says a lot about the event. So when you guys do Boozy, and I came to Chicago, I had no idea what to expect. I'm just going. I'm like, yeah, it sounds good. Let's go. Like I told you, I was any place that I was invited, I was gonna go, and it was just so cool and so welcoming, and so it was a sweetness there, and even some of the authors, like everybody wasn't together like slumber party best friends or anything like that, but it wasn't because of competition or anything like that. Some people are just quieter than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm an introvert that turns it on for these events.
Yeah.
So, I go home and have to kind of like replenish myself in quiet. And some people just don't turn it on. Listen, I write books. Do you like books? Read the back of the book, buy the bitch, and leave me alone.
Mo and Jay Neal were so funny. You, Mo, and Jay Neal.
I had so much fun. That was the first time I met Mo. And I was just like, oh, okay. Well, shoot, I told her by the time she got done tapping my titties twice that we go together.
Look, in Tulsa, she was no better in Tulsa. We had a Tulsa event. All the women had on those 1920s dresses and stuff. She just Mo ass and squeezed Mo tatas in a little bit. I was like, if you hit me one more time on the ass.
I was like, girl, you tap my booby one more time we go together. She's like, boop. I was like, all right, well, babe, I got a girlfriend now, so I
She told Jay Neal that she was like, Bestie is that's my girlfriend. I was like, shut the hell up.
I was like, all right, well, What happens at the book festival stays at the book festival.
So
That's my girl. And it
I'm
was
not
so
gonna.
nice to put faces. It's always
Yeah.
put faces with the book covers that you see. You
Yeah.
know? And then but I also got to meet Kenya Wright for the first
Yeah.
time.
Girl.
I was like
Girl.
between meeting her there and meeting oh God.
Was it Nicoya?
No, was that my first time meeting her in person? Yes, but we had like Zoom called and chatted for forever. Meeting not Brenda Jackson, Beverly Jenkins at Steamy Lit. Like those two times, Kenya and Beverly. I was like, okay, don't be a dork, don't be a dork, don't be a dork.
Yup.
I'm just as I'm like the folks with the other readers. I'm like, oh my God.
Yo,
And she was so cool.
She is so nice,
cool.
man.
She is the awesomest.
She is so real.
And then your food was good. That's the other thing.
And
like,
he was nervous that y'all wouldn't like the food.
Stop it.
Yeah, because that's when my husband's frat brother. He just opened that restaurant.
Well, he needs to make sure he keeps it open because I think I'm going back to Chicago in October, beginning of October. And I was like, I have it on my list of places that I need to look up so I can get food from because it was so good. And I was trying not to be a little greedy Gus.
We wanted y'all too. That's why we ordered so much food.
And going back multiple times, I'm like, let me not be that chick. You know what I'm saying?
When we said we was gonna feed y'all, we meant that.
Amen. I was fed. The only, like I said, and I talk about it because it's funny. Because the air wasn't working. And my silly behind going to Chicago wearing leather pants. And not even leather, pleather pants. So basically I'm in plastic leggings, a bustier, and a blazer.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy?
I was hot as hell.
I don't know if we got a curse on us or what. Because we went to Houston, right? Yeah. Had our event in Houston. Yeah. The building that we did it in, the business building we did it in, they didn't tell us that the air went up. And Houston was way bigger than any of the other events except for Tulsa. Right. It had to be over like 150 people in this room. The air went out. And I had got I got so fed up. Shannon, she was like, because you talked to the lady. Woo. I crashed out on that lady to the point she was like, I don't think I want to talk to her again. Because even the police officer that was the security was looking like, dang. Because
it's Texas and it's black folks and it's hot.
And you got them they drinking alcohol.
And they're drinking alcohol. Yeah, well, see, that's why I wore the leather pants because it's like we're going to be inside, so it's going to be air conditioned. And it's boozy books, so I'm going to be,
Yeah.
I'm going to sexy it up. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily, like the mixed genre events. I don't do that. You can't be like, there's a children's author like 4 sets of, 4 tables away and you in a bustier. Like, that doesn't work. But I'm like, this is an opportunity. Child, I was so hot, I couldn't sit down anymore because I was leaving a puddle. And I didn't.
We gonna make it up to you, T.
It was fine. First of all, it was fine, but that was on me. Who wears plastic legging, to Chicago in the middle of the summertime?
Yeah.
I know better.
We will not be doing because the Chicago event in October the place is going to be air. I had to make sure they had dual units in case one went out.
It's summertime. Stuff like that happens, right? So again, that was on me. So I know better now. And that's part of like when you're doing all this travel, like what do you take, what don't you take? Yes. How much do you take? How can you kind of like minimize, the fees on all the things that you're bringing and shipping and all of this stuff. But yeah, that is my hilarious story from there. I was like, I'm standing in these like platform 4-inch combat boots.
Oh, I love
And I
that
wanted to
outfit.
sit down because my feet was hurting, but every time I sat down and stood up, I was leaving behind a puddle in my chair. I was like, okay, I can't do that. This is sisters. They ain't gonna, no, they ain't gonna never let me live that down. So
I love that
this chick is
outfit.
leaking? Like, what's happening? Like, no, it's a sweat. I swear I didn't pee on myself. I'm
So
not that excited.
before we get out of here and I have to do this long ass fucking infomercial of information, uh, what's next for you, and what are your upcoming projects? Books, children books, adult books. Do you have any collaborations? And
Not this year. Not this year. So I have 2 babies graduating in
ooh,
May. So my
Jesus.
oldest baby is graduating college and getting ready for grad school. My middle baby, who you guys met earlier, Gabby, she's graduating from high school and getting ready to go off to college. And that those transitions, we're really like probably too close on top of each other kind of family. And so those transitions, I don't know how they're going to hit. And so I
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure that I'm keeping like my family focused
Yeah.
and not doing so much to where they become secondary during this time. So,
Mm.
so I'm not doing any collaborations this year. Um, and I've got 2 novellas and a full length that will come out, so that finishes the Courageous Love series.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
might have another one in there. Like, I've got it planned out, but is it going to be finished before the end of 2025? I don't know.
Long as it's not like love you.
Love
Never.
Never. So the 2 novellas are Love Always and, oh shoot, I forgot the other name.
Okay, see, I'm traumatized already. You said love you in the title.
Yo, yeah. So they're, but they're not like that one. So Love Always is the story of Kane and Tori. But the problem, and people kept asking them for their stories, but if you read Heartbeat, Kane doesn't talk a lot.
He
Like,
does not, but he fine as hell.
yeah, he's fine, but you can't write a whole story about how he's fine and doesn't speak. So,
No,
like, I'm
that's
like, how am
true.
I supposed to write a story? The man doesn't talk.
That is true.
So, the character came to me eventually and showed me, demonstrated to me how he won Tori over, which were he writes letters.
Oh, see,
And
why you be
so,
having me emotional? I'm supposed to be a hard thug.
Love Always is essentially a series of letters between him and Tori.
Oh,
And we also find out why he doesn't speak a lot. It's not just, it's part of his personality now, but it wasn't, it is as a response to something.
Terreece, you know.
So that's Love Always, and it's just a little like snippet of time in their whole thing.
I,
So it's not the whole. They
I
don't get
feel
a
like you
full
about to make me emotional again. I feel.
Probably.
I,
I mean,
I
that's how
think.
those books are. That's why it takes me so long in between them, because I do need a reset from when I get done with them.
Oh
I
my.
realize that too. Like
You are
that about myself as an author. Like I need a reset between the
you
courageous
and
books.
you and Evelyn
But
taking me
see,
fucking
Evelyn
through
has
it.
her books have like humor and quirky and
But when they
all of
get to
that.
that serious part, it's just like, my
Yeah,
God.
yeah,
But you, oh my God, from beginning to end, I'm just sitting here like, oh my God, my heart hurts. Oh my
yeah,
God, this feels so.
yeah. But I always bring you through to the end. I put you through it, but we get to the good stuff. Like
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
leave you in pain.
The regular books, not that novella, goddamn it. That novella? No,
Well,
no, no.
the way, but think about it. The setup. There was no other way to go about it.
Why?
There was
Why?
no. I believe in happily ever afters, and there was no other way to get to that happily ever after what we established in Heartbeat.
Did we have to do
So
the highway to heaven? Did we? Did we have to touch by an angel it? What
yes,
the hell?
because happily ever after is happily ever after. There is no end to that. I don't do that happily for now, and then they might get divorced later. Miss me with that one. I mean, it's real life, and I don't knock anybody who writes that. I'm gonna be honest, because it's interesting and true to life. But in my life right now, I need happiness.
Okay. I get it. I really do get it. But you did traumatize the hell out of my ass.
I listen. I boo-hooed. I boo-hooed when I told David like the story just came to me, and I was like, oh my god, that's what happened, and I'm retelling it to him, and I'm boo-hooing, and he's like, why are you crying? You know the story. I was like, that's why I'm crying. I don't know. I'm serious when I say if you cried, I cried. If you laughed, I laughed.
You stressed me out so bad. And you right, because if I would have stood by Jonathan,
pages.
Yo, look, if I would have stayed by Jonathan and saw you try to slip that book in,
because you don't have to read it, but you have to have the whole series. You got all of them from that one, so I needed to gift that one to you, so you had the whole series.
I never want a book because I've been traumatized so fucking much by it and absolutely love the character so much.
Yeah.
To the point that I was like, how could she do this to me?
I don't have favorites. I love them all for different reasons.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, like I did Love Never and was like, it's just a novella. Nobody's going to pay any attention. I put it out without any fanfare. I was just like, here you go. It's a story. I liked it and put it out. But as I've come back to it, because I try to reread the books before I write the next one to kind of keep all the moving parts and the people and places in my head and the timeline straight. But also to maintain like the same vibe and continuity and all that. It holds a really special place in my heart. It is so sweet and poignant and hot for 100 and something pages. Like I thought I could only write long books because I got to tell you everything that's happening.
Yo,
but that one it just worked. It worked.
It did. I mean, Heartbeat. You know, I love Heartbeat. I love Heartbeat.
That's the first thing.
Something about Love You Never is just it's a different type of love. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because of the dynamic, the history, and the ending. Yeah. It was a lot in the beginning because of the dynamic they was going through in their relationship. The middle caught up with Heartbeat. Yeah. And then the ending was like, now, ma'am, you don't know how many times I told you to go to hell. Why would you do that? Why? I kept on the Kindle.
My goodness.
I was on the Kindle like, I know. I just know.
Yeah.
Highway to heaven shit did not happen in this book.
But because it comes, Heartbeat is first.
Yeah.
Because of what I said, there was no other way. There was no other way. I'm not bringing folks back from the dead.
But he was not.
Zombie romance, which probably that actually sounds pretty awesome.
But you went in the future. You went in the future before, and so I'm like, he's still gonna be around.
Yeah, and he was till he won.
That was some bullshit.
It's life, and I want it to, like I said, for romance, it will always be happily ever after. And so there had to be hope in something. And so, yeah. I mean, I gave you a 6-foot tall vagina painting in the epilogue. Like, which is a true story. I have one.
What the fuck?
I mean, it's mine.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I paint as well, so. But I thought that would be interesting to put in there.
Wow. The things I learned on these interviews. The things I learned. So, all right. So we had Heartbeat. Yes. We have Love You Never.
Love Never, yeah.
Love Never. Chaser.
Yes.
That one. That one. That one.
I think Chaser's my most popular. And Fingertips is the best book because it's the fourth book.
Mm-hmm.
So the more I write, obviously, hopefully, the better I get.
How did you come up with that cowboy SNS type?
So when people were like, "So what's next?" and I was like, "Oh shoot, I don't know." I was like, "Okay, so which among the people in her circle would get books?" And I loved Xavier Xavier had a bigger role in Heartbeat originally,
Mm-hmm.
but Heartbeat was like 200,000 words, 200, 250 when I finished, and I was like, okay, you gotta trim something.
Damn.
And I didn't even realize what a nightmare physically that is to print and have shipped and that sort of thing. I was just thinking, at some point, you've got to stop the story. So his part I'm going to release that later. Like, I keep thinking about maybe a Patreon and like all the different scenes that you don't actually get to see from the books.
You should.
So he had a bigger role, and I just really liked him so much. And I was like, well, who would be the right, and what kind of dude is it? Because like we see him as a businessman. Is he just a businessman? What's lurking underneath, the surface? Who is he really? And Black Cowboy just, it's just fitting because it's such a. He's so buttoned up and he's so proper and he's so, punctual and mannerful and all of that you think like big nerd kind of, big business kind of nerd. He's got this swag or whatever that comes from like being successful, but the man really is, when he takes off that suit, he's a cowboy. And I'm like, oh yeah, that works. So
yeah, I love that.
So I had the two of them. I was like, okay, and Shayla, I mean, she's an heiress, so she wants for nothing, and she don't want nobody. So, who would be the kind of man that can give her something that she could not buy, and could not find in the circles in which she, occupied?
Yeah,
and so. That was Xavier. So they made a good connection. That was supposed to be the last book. It got moved up. It got moved up because David, my husband, wanted it. He was like, "Okay, you let the white boy in. Now I want to see the brother get his."
Yes, I love that.
But Chaser is supposed to be at the end because Shayla is based in Ohio, and so then that was going to kind of spin off an Ohio-based series. So we were going to move out of Colorado into Ohio. So by the last book, which is Breathless, which that comes, I have it set for October. It may come out earlier. I don't know. We'll see. But that was supposed to be the second book. Then Fingertips, then Chaser. So I kind of had to. I was like, that'll never work. I can't do that, blah, blah, blah. But once you make the suggestion, my brain starts working on if it could work, how it could work. And so I was able to kind of like adjust the timeline and the story. I think that was better. I think it was better. So I give him his props for that. And so we've got like, the Rainbow Coalition of dudes. So, Mike is white, Xavier is black, Smooth, to not give away any spoilers, and Love Never is black. And I think he's black because he's black and Korean and white. Some folks don't count that. I leave that up to them. I go with how folks identify, and when he came to me as a character, that's who he identifies with. And then the last book, Breathless, he's Samoan.
Wait a goddamn minute. Wait a goddamn. What?
He's Samoan, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Jesus.
Like I said, I don't care where they come from, what they look like. Are they doing the right things by my girls?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, we're almost done with that series. I'm kind of glad. I've been with them for a while.
So where do you go
So
from there? What's the next? What's the move next?
the next move is the Holiday Sisters. So
Who the hell is that?
you met the Holiday Twins in Chaser, the party planner, and the archivist who knew where things were in old houses. Her sister.
Oh, how that's gonna go?
They're going to be lighter. They're going to be lighter, a little more fun. So the first one, well, so with the Holiday Sisters, they're not all sisters, just a couple of sisters and a couple of cousins. But the family legend is the great grandmother would have died, but her husband, Mr. Holiday, said a prayer for them to be spared. The wife and the child was spared, and all of the girls are born on holidays since then.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to read those.
I know. I kind of want to just start with those and kind of leave
Oh my God.
But I like to finish up the series and then hop into the next one. But yeah, that's what's coming up next. So I'm excited about it. And it's fun and it's my watch. It's fun and flirty and like I said, less heavy or less angsty than the Courageous Love series, but it's still lots of heat and all of that.
I can't wait to read Breathless, and I definitely can't wait to read your holiday series. Jesus.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought that would be fun because I had so much fun doing the Christmas book.
Oh, that was so fucking funny.
I had so much fun. I mean, I was just in my office giggling like a little loon, like
because that pie contest had me,
and it was it was a nice break again from the series because it's deep and it's romance and they go through the fire literally like in fingertips. So it's very like emotional and big. And then you have this like silly Christmas book in which they're playing pranks on each other. And
I swear the whole cutting off the electricity. Child.
I had so much fun.
That was so funny.
I had a freaking blast making. I decided because I saw everybody was putting out Christmas books, and I was like, ooh. And I'm like, literally December 1st. I was like, I'll do a Christmas novella. I put it out Christmas Eve. And I had a freaking blast. Like, I had so much fun writing it. So
I want you to write some more rom-coms. You were so...
Me too. I had fun.
You're funny.
And I'm funny and I'm goofy, and I like putting people in silly and goofball situations. Like, I always say, like, the Christmas book, the Christmas War Pause, is Hallmark with more sex.
Yeah.
So you've got like is supposed to have like that Christmas corny small town. There's always like some kind of quirky things happening in the small town, almost like what's that TV show? It was with Lorelai and her daughter, and they live in Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, that my child watches that faithfully.
Yeah, I loved Gilmore Girls, and when they have those town meetings, and like just the conversation and sidetrack, and I love that. I think it's just so funny, and so I wrote that in a Christmas book and put a bunch of black people and a bear. Just it was like, what happens with two veterinarians and a bear that don't like each other?
Right. It was. Look, I really y'all please get through. It's funny as hell.
Christmas book. And I have it on audio. I have 2 audio.
Wait.
I am a grown up. I am a grown-up girl. I have 2 audiobooks. Christmas
Wait.
War Pause is in audio and Love Never is in audio.
Why would you put Love Never in? Jesus.
Because those are the 2 smallest books. So Christmas War Pause came first. And that it was supposed to come out obviously during Christmas, but it didn't. It got delayed until January. And then Love Never has been out, sort of. Like I've been able to use it as like promos for in swags for like some of the bookish events.
Mm-hmm.
But it's out and everywhere now. But that's out because it was ready. And Heartbeat is so freaking big. That it's just taking a while. So we had to put some stuff out, like, because I mean, fiscally, you gotta be making some money. So.
Have you applied for the Audio in Black grant?
Twice.
Because I was making sure, because I want Heartbeat and Chaser.
I did it with Heartbeat, and Heartbeat, they said was a little too long, which I completely get. And then I did it with Love Never, but I didn't really get a lot of feedback on that one. We just haven't connected in a way which, you know, my work is what they're looking for, which is totally fine.
What about A.A. Lewis Company?
Well, no, all of the other books are optioned. Like, they've all been bought. So.
How did I not know about this?
I think I did a little something, like a little like blurb about it, but I didn't, do a lot of cartwheeling. I mean, I did at home, but I didn't do a lot because I figured like we would do a lot of promo when they were coming out. So, but yeah, everyone up through fingertips is bought. So
congratulations!
Thank you. It's just taking a while. Like I said, Heartbeat is so freaking big.
It is. It is.
That is. I think it's going to be like 17 hours or something like that. Yeah. But remember, when I wrote Heartbeat, I put everything that I wanted to put in there: kitchen sink, the playlist, the annotations, all of that, because I hadn't planned on writing anything else. So now I'm like, especially with the annotations of the music, like that's a pain in the butt to do, like technically. So, but I did it for the first book, so I have to continue it through the rest of the series.
Jeez Louise. So, what book events are you going to go to, if any, this year?
Yeah, I trimmed back because I had, I was going to one in Texas. I'm not doing that now. So I had to, like I said, I had to take a look at the travel and what's happening in life, and you still need to produce books. Can't sell what's not written. So, so I've scaled back this year. So let's see. In May, I'm doing Ohio Anna, which is here in Columbus. Then I go to the Black Romance Book Festival in Atlanta. June, I'm doing Bray, which is Beyond the Reader. Event. That's what it is, Beyond the Reader event. And that is here again in Columbus. So I'm trying to stick like East Coast, Midwest. That's in June. I want to say end of June. And then let's see, July is the Columbus Book Festival. August, I don't think I have anybody.
Let me. I know you was talking about Beverly Jenkins. And I'm saying this because I'll be podcasting there, but I see you and A.A. Lewis Bray has a collaboration event in Detroit. It's like August 28th. Brandon Massey is going to be there. Beverly Jenkins is going to be there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think they still have tables available for authors.
Okay, well, let me check. This August is when I'm taking babies to colleges.
Oh Jesus! Mine just got accepted to Southern Mississippi.
All right, congratulations.
Child, my bank account don't say that.
Oh well, yeah. I don't even want to talk about that. Things make me sad. Between putting in scholarships is like my second, third, fourth. I don't know how many jobs I have. I mean, right?
Yeah.
But it is a full-time gig for search. We've got spreadsheets and all of that. So yeah.
My husband just decided to go back to school and get his master's. So
congratulations.
I'm just sitting here like, y'all, you know what?
I love education. It just ain't free. We'll see. Like Gabby she got a really good deal. She got several scholarships to the top school that she's looking at. So she applied to like 21 and she's been accepted to like 10 or 11, I think. I think we're still waiting on one. She's pretty decided on where she's going to go, so we're headed to New York next week, actually, this coming week, to do a couple of school visits. But it's out of state. Out of state tuition is just
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, because she applied to Syracuse. She got in to Syracuse.
Nice.
The tuition with the scholarship did not match up.
Yeah. And now with things so up in the air with federal funds and all of that, they're not really coming off of a lot because they don't know what they're going to have. So, yeah, it's a wild time. So, and then Liv is my oldest, got into UCLA and NYU for grad school. So she has to decide within the next 2 weeks or so. So
yeah,
figure out the money on that one. I'm like, well, baby, these are your pockets for that one. So we have our opinion, but we'll support you whichever one you want to go to.
I had her go to community college first. Because I refused, because I learned my lesson from my son before he went to the military. He went to a university in Indiana and he realized, oh, I really don't want to go to class, but I want to party. And mind you,
that's every freshman.
We were paying for it, and then he realized, oh shit, if I don't go to class, I get F's.
Yeah.
So
it's not high school. They don't care whether you come or not. They got the money.
Because the feeling of driving him there and dropping him off with all that shit, and then coming back to get him and pack up all that shit and bring him home, that was not a feeling I liked, because I spent so much money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with her, I said, you know what? Let's do community college first. See how you like it.
That is completely it's a viable path. It's a smart path.
So she got all her electives out the way.
I was going to say credits are credits. So
now when she goes to the university, it's gonna be a shorter time frame of her being there. Right. And she can do, her core classes. Now I'll pay for that. Because college ain't that. I don't care if you're in the military or not. It's still you paying something.
You come out. Yeah, they're not even. So I want to say, was it? Yeah, Liv was telling me she's at USC now. My oldest is at USC, and people who had 4-year supposed guaranteed scholarships ended up not having them. They were like, man, well, no, we don't have it. So,
yeah.
And now you're in it now. So now you got to figure out how, you know what I mean? How to stay. So
the way they doing with the Department of Education, I don't trust it.
Absolutely.
And she just got a job with Warner Brothers.
Oh, nice.
I mean, out of community, she got.
I saw that. I saw your post. That's right.
And I'm so proud of her. So, I said, because she's gonna do Southern Miss online, and she wants to continue work. I said, now it's different when you're in the corporate world compared to just having a rinky-dink job.
Right.
They're them hours. They don't give a fuck you going to college.
Yeah. Well, she's still young. They and she's getting her undergrad, so.
Yeah.
There's probably, and honestly, if she keeps working, she might be able to get tuition reimbursement.
Yeah, I hope so.
So go and let that baby work.
I hope so.
Let her figure it out, because that she might be eligible for tuition reimbursement.
I hope so, girl, because this shit expensive as hell. But I ain't gonna hold you too much longer, because I do have to eat, because my stomach is touching my back. I didn't eat breakfast this morning because
I get like feels like bubbles going up the back of my neck when I get too hungry.
Yeah. And these people in this house have been cooking since I didn't refuse to cook today. They
Hey,
made.
yeah, my husband cooked today too. It must be a thing
It
going.
must be because
Everybody
I
got
had
the food
made some
bug.
oxtails the other day. So those were made. So my daughter and my husband, they
Right.
made chicken fried rice and
Mmm.
I don't know what else they put with that, but I was like, I'm smelling it. I'm like, God damn.
David made, what is it? Sausage gravy over top of biscuits with eggs, and like right before, I was like, you didn't see Gabrielle had a plate when she left. I was like shoving it in my face, trying not to mess up my lipstick before we got on, while also trying to get the stuff to work to get on.
Look,
So,
she just walked past. Talking about, did you eat yet?
so I'm about to reheat that up. But yes, this was so much fun.
It's always a pleasure talking to you. It's always
Same.
a freaking
I just like watching
pleasure.
when you interview other folks too. I've been there a lot.
I always
We
say there
have
are certain people that I talk to that I could talk to for a long time, and it's just the conversation is just organic. You know what I'm saying?
we
And
have
then
fun.
there's certain people I can't, as you can see.
I mean, he could have talked forever.
Yeah, Jesus.
You don't understand. Like I watched like 90% of it, and I was like, Dave, you gotta watch this. I rewound it back 2 hours for him to watch, so he can be like, am I tripping? I'm not tripping, but I want to see your reaction. Man, he was like, she's doing well. What is he talking? What? I mean, yeah.
That was my husband. My husband was like, he even left him a message. He said, "You would
Wait,
not."
so David went further. David went we were watching it on YouTube, and I was listening while doing other stuff. Then he was like, after it was over, he was digging through the comments. He was like, "Oh, her husband replied." He was so. I mean, he went through all the comments. He was checking to see what they were saying about it on threads. I mean, like he was like into the whole thing. He was like, he ain't never seen somebody ruin a career so fast.
And then had the audacity to send me merch, a link to the merch that he had. These knockoff Versace slippers.
Stop it.
I bullshit you not. I swear to God.
Well, speaking of merch, see, mine is a knockoff. This
I
is
didn't know
mine.
you had that. Is that
That's
new?
me. That's me on the website. I got T-shirts. I got water mugs. I got all kinds of stuff.
Now wait a minute. I need you to market some more.
I know I'm falling behind, but
Or
I
hire
haven't.
somebody to like, or get, a PA, or
I
I mean,
know. I know. I know. It's a lot of.
so
It's a
you don't
lot.
have to stress yourself about it.
Too late. You see all these grades, child. Listen.
You see, I got my hat on because I
That's
the
one
dye.
book. That's another book.
You see, I got my hat on because that dye
These
is
out
coming.
here are the children.
So, all right. So I'm gonna do some housekeeping.
Yes.
All right. Boozy Book Tour. You can get your tickets. You can also do sponsorship packages, and you also can sponsor a reader if you want to. So we have Raleigh, North Carolina, coming up May 17th. Phenomenal bunch of authors. This will be the last time we are coming to North Carolina because this is twice now. You did Charlotte. You get Raleigh. This is it. And then after that, it's Arlington, Virginia, and that's July 26th. I think that's when it is. And phenomenal cast. Again, it's already filling up a lot. Then we had Orlando, but we had to cancel. It was outside of our. Hey, Orlando is expensive, y'all. So, and so we have Chicago, October 18th. That is a 3-day event because it's a meet and greet where you're going to learn how to step like we do in Chicago.
Hey.
So you get to dance, have fun, have some drinks, have some appetizers. Then we have the book signing that is going to be fun, 360 booth, everything. We trying to elevate it, but keep it small. And then after that, we're gonna have brunch at one of the mimosas and lunch places so we can listen to some music, drink, and then you can go on your merry little way back home. Then next year, Las Vegas, and we will be doing it big again. Jesus, all this work. We're
But
having.
you said you were sitting down. This don't sound like sitting down.
That's why I can't go nowhere this month. Next month. We're gonna have the Melanin Ball. It's a house party. It's ode to the House Party 2 with Kid and Play. If you haven't watched it, I need you to watch it. So you're the whole weekend you in pajamas. Is pajama jam. From the meet and greet, we're renting out a studio. I mean a theater, so we can watch House Party 2. And then we're gonna play laser tag and bowl. That's the first day. The second day will be the book signing, the Indie Awards, which the nominations for your favorite authors are coming out next month. So if you don't nominate them, don't come in my DM if they ain't on the list. Y'all did that last year. I am not going for it this year. So nominate, vote. And then from there, we're going to have another Melanin Ball, which will be us in the pajamas listening to 90s music. And I said 90s, 80s and 90s, 80s and 90s. Ain't going to be no 2000s, none of it. It's 80s and 90s music being played for the pajama jam. And then that will be the end of us doing these regular book signings. After that, it will be theme book signings. Denver, Colorado comes up next year, and we're doing a dungeon night. That is interracial and multicultural. And if you write erotica, we will let you slide in, but it's dedicated to multicultural and interracial. And it is going to be a real dungeon. You got to see NDA for that event. There's no ifs and buts about it. This will be the pop-up shop for y'all to see my club that I will be having in Chicago. That is going to be a BDSM club called Shadow Realm. You will have doms there. You will have submissives there. But as I said, NDA must be signed.
All right.
And then after that is Seattle, Washington. Later on in the year for Halloween, we are doing a Mad Hatter, Alice in Wonderland tea party.
Oh, that's fun.
And then in the tea, we might have regular tea, but we're going to have Long Island iced tea. It's going to be drinks served.
All
So
right.
that's the Boozy Book Tour in a nutshell. So if you are an author and like to collaborate with us and do a theme event for your book and your character, we will do that. But as far as doing regular book signings after this year, it's not going to happen anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. It was just a little bit too much. We're only going to do 3 a year now. That's it. That's
a lot.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
Boo.
So, and also, I wrote Black Girls Social Media Content Creation Planner. It's 3. Yeah.
How cute. Girl.
It's 3 planners in one. It's your goals. If you understand the acronym of goals, it's in here. It's also a social media step-by-step from your time, from analytics to everything for you to plan out your schedule to have your content out and how to improve it. And also inside is self-care. It is a self-care journal because we as Black women don't do it or don't do it enough.
Guilty.
So you can get the digital copy. It is the link is in my bio. Also my YouTube channel. Thank you for getting me monetized. Yeah, I have 1,000 plus. Yeah. I have 1,000 plus subscribers. Yes.
I love it.
Also my website, I will be updating it next week where I'm putting my reviews on my blog because as much as I like doing videos, nothing on social media is guaranteed to stay up. Nope. So if something happens, Lord forbid, you can always go on my website and get my book reviews typed out. And who knows, I might find out how to do like a voice activation thing on there where you're hearing my voice talking about the reviews as well. You know what I'm saying? So, And I just want to say thank you all for just supporting me, for real. And I want to highlight some indie owners of businesses that are for the literary community. We have another podcast just like mine, but I think it's better, honestly. But it's another podcast just like mine that does literary podcasting, and that's Booked and Busy. Pop your shit, pop your ish. She does literary podcasts, and she is phenomenal, phenomenal. So please check her out if you are out there and you like to talk about your book. But be respectful. Be respectful when you slide in the DMs. Be respectful. Then you have, if you want your book, there's two physical, one physical and one online. The physical one is Book Readers Venue in Houston, Texas. I mean Humble, Texas. She does indie authors, and they are front and center Black authors on her shows. So if you are interested in your books in Humble, Texas, and the Book Readers Venue, reach out to her and y'all go from there. And as far as online, my business partner Shannon, she owns a bookstore online with book boxes, merch, and everything else. The Literary DFW. So if you want your books online, make sure you talk to Shannon as well for your merch and everything else. If you are looking for a PR marketing company who is owned by a Black woman who is invested in Black literacy, her name is Nicole, Booked and Busy. She just started her own PR company, and I am one of her clients. So if you want someone who's not going to change you, but try to better you and do what's right by your business, help you with your art team, help you with your whatever authors need, you know. She said everything. She is the person she right there. She is the person y'all need to reach out to. She doing her thing. She doing her thing. And if you are an author looking for a book box that is different from regular book boxes, and you have the Urban Tea Room. The Urban Tea Room makes book boxes with tea in them. She specializes in blended tea. So she has done Jaquel J, E. Bowser. She has done Jatoria C. And if you are an author interested in having a book box that is tea, literally, she is your person. And I absolutely love them teas. Those are some unique teas. They're so good. So
Nice.
and who else? There's also a t-shirt company that just opened. She is a reader. Her name is Mika G. You can find her on here. She owns her own t-shirt company and it's just open. So support y'all. And if you are looking for an editor that is good at what she does, she edited Jaquel J #1 book.
That was amazing.
She edited that, and that's Tylee Justine on here, the official Tylee Justine. She has a company called Marked by Tylee. So check her out. All right. I think I've done. Did I do it all, Nicole? Because I think you came in here just to make sure I did what I was supposed to do.
Keep her on task.
I did. Okay. But thank you so much. I can't wait to see you again.
I know. I'm trying to get to Vegas, but I gotta keep my ducks in a row. So,
Okay.
but I'm hoping.
Well, if you come to Chicago, if you make it to Chicago in October, we can meet up and have lunch or dinner or something.
Totally.
Yeah. So I might even tell Mo, hey, she coming. Come on, bring your ass.
Your girlfriend coming to town.
Get Mo to come out here too. Bring your ass, girl.
Girl, yeah. Oh, now you trying to get us in trouble.
You okay? Before we go, you remember how I was getting on Mo because she stole a certain thing from me? It was a caramel. I think you missed it. It was an adult caramel, and I told her to hold it.
Right.
She ate it. She said, I thought you said
She held it
that it
all
was
right.
mine. I said, that never came out my mouth. Never happened.
She like a little kid. She heard what she wanted to hear.
And then in Tulsa, my husband had some adult type things.
Yeah.
She snatched it out of his hand and ran. And then popped the whole thing in her mouth, and she was looking like a zombie the next day. And he was trying to tell her, no, don't. I said, I bet you learned your lesson now.
She didn't experience some stuff.
I was like, not the husband and the wife.
Stop it. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. I gotta hear the whole story. What she saw after she popped that one.
Oh. All you gotta do is ask Janelle how that all unfolded. It was.
That is too funny. That is too funny.
That's a mo. And we ain't even gonna get on her on the dance floor, and she not realizing the breeze.
Oh, wait a minute, what?
I have realized that the Boozy Book Tour has went from mild to wild.
See, it's a Boozy Book Tour. Come on now. It's predestined.
It went from this mild
and naughty books together.
It was like, oh,
mild.
It was mild, like, oh wow, everybody together. This is such a family thing. To what is this, Freaknik?
You got comfortable. You got comfortable and you got loose. So I was overdressed. I think I was coming to the end of the Boozy Book Tour because everyone was very tame and collected when I was there. And I was like, I thought we was gonna get a little turned up. Well, I see I've missed it. I gotta know better next time.
Yeah, it's a whole experience now. I swear to God.
I was say everybody's comfortable. Everybody's comfortable. Yeah. You got the lay of the land. You get them liquored up, and most steal some candy.
Yeah.
And it's on. That is too funny. That is too funny.
I will tell you that story. I ain't gonna do it on here because TikTok.
Y'all don't get to know. Oh, I saw something. She was shaking it like a salt shaker. I bet. Hey.
She was.
Someone said they wanted to read the stories but didn't know the reading order. So they're independent or interconnected standalone, so you can go either way, but the way I designed them is Heartbeat, Love Never, Chaser, and Fingertips. And then the Christmas book is a one-off. And I forgot, I got a cowboy book that I wrote in a series with Peyton Banks. And
oh yeah, she did. Oh, that I forgot about
that. And
that was so good.
Who else was in that one? There's a bunch of us.
It was Koyan, it was you, yes. It was Peyton.
It was Dari, it was...
Wait, Dari had a book in it?
Was Dari in that one?
I don't think Dari was in that one.
I don't know, it was 8 of us.
I don't know. If she did write a book, I didn't know about it.
Okay, then I'm probably messing up.
I wasn't wrong because I read yours, I read Nicoya's, and I read Peyton. I didn't read the rest of them, so I don't know. I might be wrong.
Oh, I be adding stuff. Hold on, because I don't want to misspeak. It was my first man chest cover.
I liked it though. I liked it.
My kids gave me such drama with that. They were like, why is everyone... No, what did she say? She says, why is everyone's middies out? I was like, I'm sorry, they're what?
Not middies.
He was like, oh my God. Let's see. It was Peyton, Blair Wilde, me. Yeah, Dari. She did The Rancher's Home. Hers is the book right after mine. Ariella Sky, Nicole Yang, Yolanda Olsen. So there's 8 books.
I'm trying to figure out how I missed Dari's. Yeah, I must not have seen that promotion. I seen yours. I seen the coin.
Yep, hers is right behind mine.
Damn. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back on that series and read that. 'Cause I
Yep,
didn't
the
even
Silver
know.
Creek series. So, and I believe they're doing another season of it. I don't know when it comes out though, so
Mm,
don't quote me on that one.
okay.
But yeah,
All right. So tell the people where they can find your books, how they best can support you, and we'll leave it off on that.
cool. You can best support me and find my books. Well, so my paperbacks are anywhere good books are sold. Ebooks are exclusive to Amazon because they're in Kindle Unlimited as well. My audiobooks are wide, so you can find those. I have two out, so that would be awesome. Best way to support me is making sure you read the books, leave reviews, tell your friends about them. And if you like mugs and bookish t-shirts, I have those on my site as well, and that's at TerreeceClarke.com.
All right. So thank you once again.
Thank
And
you for having me.
we're just gonna meet up in
Call
Chicago.
me up. Give your husband a hug for me.
He is snoring. I hear him all the way from here. He ate and got the itis. He's snoring.
Well, you know it's good. Girl, hurry up and get yourself a plate.
I know.
But when he wake up, give him a hug for me.
I will. I will. But you have a good one and tell your daughter I just loved her book.
Thank you. I will. I will. I'm sure she's been like just beaming ever since she got off the interview. So
She's such a
thank you for
sweetheart.
having her on and supporting her. I really
No
appreciate it.
problem. No problem.
I really
I'm happy to
appreciate
do it.
So,
But I need you to make sure you get in contact with Nicole, booked and busy, so you can get on her show.
you trying to say I need to do some more?
Yes, yes, yes,
I've
yes.
been running. I've been running so hard, but you're right. So I will.
Okay, all right. So I will talk to you guys later. You have a good rest of your Sunday.
You guys, see you later. Thank you.
You're welcome.